One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Good morning. Early Monday morning. I have to get used to the lighting here because this is supposed to be the nighttime studio, but I decided to come here today. Then about 3 o'clock, I think we'll be doing a show. I'll jump over to the other studio, trying to get everything settled and getting in. Hope you guys are doing well on a Monday morning. So we have the Prime Minister of Australia coming in today. Obviously, they have not showed up as of yet. We'll keep an eye on things when he shows up. You guys by now should know the game, how things are going to happen. They come in, they do the quick wave, not introduce him, but he shows up in the limo. They go inside, then they cut the screen, and then when they cut the screen, then at that point, about 10 or 15 minutes later, the feed comes back up, and they have a impromptu press conference, which, if you guys have been following what's been going on, there has been so much news. The news cycle is truly a 24-hour news cycle. When I say that, things just don't last. It seems like the No Kings rally was, 2 weeks ago. It doesn't matter anymore. It's already gone. Absolutely gone. And so I've got a bunch of news already this morning that I want to show you. As soon as the PM from Australia comes, we'll jump into it. I want to thank all of you that attended last night's show. Half the show was news, and then the other half of the show, I went into some prosperity talk. And of course, we had some of the usual trolls that just for some reason have taken it upon their life to tell other people they shouldn't try to improve their life. But for the most part, everybody seemed to like it. So we're going to continue that series. And I think Sunday night is a good time. It's an off news cycle. We have some downtime after football. And so we'll do some things on Sunday. Sort of like Monday or Tuesday mornings are going to be our prayer morning meetings that we have before things get started. And then Sunday, it'll be before the week gets started. With that being said, welcome. Thank you guys for all tuning in. Hope your week went well. And let's jump into something I saw early this morning on Fox News, Fox and Friends this morning. Dan Bongino, you know, the guy who was going to quit because he was so unhappy, all that stuff that was going on. You found out that was a bunch of BS as well. Dan Bongino appeared on Fox and Friends discussing some of the stuff that has happened over the weekend. One of the things that they discussed is the high hide. If you guys are hunters, they found a hide up in the tree level, which was going to give somebody with a scope rifle the ability to look directly at where President Trump departs or goes into Air Force One. As somebody who has been to that airport many times, it's like right up the road. Before President Trump was inaugurated, when he was flying Trump Force One around, literally, all it was a chain link fence, and right there was Trump Force One. Robin and I took pictures with the plane in the background and everything else. I was probably 150 yards away from Trump Force One. No protection. It just sat there. And so obviously with Air Force One, there's a lot more protection. But what was interesting, well, I'll let Dan, when I get to that point where Dan starts talking about it, I have a big question. Probably the same question you guys are going to have. So while we're waiting for the Prime Minister to show up, let's jump into this.
Dan, thanks so much for joining the program.
Good morning.
Good to see you guys.
So Dan, this is a little bit of a different situation because some of the locals look like they're going to cooperate with the Bureau.
Yeah. Well, that's great. You know, Lawrence, we appreciate cooperation, and it's fantastic. You're always going to get a better result when you've got a willing partner. However, you know, we don't work for the locals. We work for the American people. It's the FBI. We're not the local police department. They all do wonderful work. I was a local police officer, but we're the FBI, and we work for the American people. I'll say this, the president early on with regards to this crush and violent crime, whether it's in San Francisco, Chicago, any other major city, early on, this is kind of the untold story of this op. I get appointed, announced in February, come in March, Cash is there a little bit earlier. President brings us in early, and in essence, this is kind of the behind the scenes, guys. He says to us, you know, listen, I'm a builder. I'm in a lot of these big cities. He has just zero tolerance for violent crime. He just does. He drives around Washington, D.C. on these OTRs, off-the-record movements.
Okay. So I wanted to stop right there because there's a bit of, I wouldn't call it breaking news, but definitely behind-the-scenes news. So Dan just said that President Trump often just gets in a car and drives around. Doesn't tell anybody. OTR, off the record. Some of the reporters may know. Maybe they sneak him out the back door. Who knows? But the President of the United States will get in a vehicle and just casually drive around Washington and look at things. And the thing with that is he has a very unique perspective. As Dan started to say, he cut himself off when he said, he's a builder and developer in New York. Well, those of us in the real estate business, and obviously he's at the pinnacle of the real estate business, that's what you do. When you're looking at acquiring a property, or if you already have acquired a property, you drive around and check out the neighborhood. You want to make sure that everything is as it's supposed to be. The value of your property, the value in this instance of the country, of Washington, D.C., he's putting eyes on these areas. We haven't heard much of that from any other president. Driving around and going, that's garbage. Why is this garbage here? Oh, what is this? Why are these homeless people hanging out here? What's going on over there? He's putting eyes on the city. Who knows? He may have done that with other cities. He owns property in San Francisco. He owns property in Chicago. So it's not unheard of that possibly he has gotten in a car during an event and said, look, drive me around the city. I want to see what's going on. What are the hot spots here? And as a developer, as someone who's involved in real estate and business, who's made his money, made his bones understanding the good and bad in neighborhoods. Because if you're going to pick a place to develop, you want to know what's around it to make sure, back when he was a private citizen, how can I protect my investment? How is this investment going to grow? Now, taking those skills in as a president, he can do the exact same thing. Let's drive around and let me see for myself. I don't want no damn report. Take your reports and shove it. I want to see with my eyes because I know what I'm looking at. What are these dudes over here by the liquor store? Clean that up. Write that down. Take a note. Okay, we're going to go over here. Oh, what is this pile of crap? See, those are the kind of things that most people who've never been in business and never been in real estate would never see. President Trump is getting out there and touching things.
These homelessness, crime, he can't stand it. He says, what do we got to do to fix this? And we basically lay out a bunch of things, and his answer is very simple. President's like, go get them, boys. Go get them. That was it. Like, you do what you have to do. So we got in there, Cash and I, and we brought in the best SACs, special agents in charge across the country, guys who had forgotten more about crime and enforcing it than most people ever know. They've done this their whole lives. One of them we pulled in from Phoenix. He had an amazing job out there. We said, hey, his name's Joe. I said, Joe, you tell me what we need to do to go get these demon savages off the street. Tell me what we need to do. We brought in a violent crime roundtable of the best crim agents in the country. We figured out a battle plan, how to kind of water balloon. You know, when you squeeze a water balloon, you get a bulge. How do we bulge agents here and then bulge agents there? And we cleaned up at the president's direction, the director and I, with the SACs and the agents in the field. We water ballooned around the country and made, get a load of this, guys. This is going to trip you out. 28,000 violent crime arrests in 2025, and the year's not even over. You say, oh, well, what does that mean? Put it in comparison. Prior 3-4 years, the FBI under prior leadership had averaged about 15, 16,000. We're at
So what he just said is they are essentially going to double the output of any of the FBI operations under Biden in less than a year. If they're at 28,000 now, and the Biden term was averaging 15,000, well, we still got basically 2.5 months to go. They're going to get to about 30,000. They are going to double the amount of arrests. You know, last night, 60 Minutes ran a hit piece, and they had some whistleblower from the DOJ who said, I've got to come clean. I got to tell you what's going on because it's awful. It's awful because these people are having to work. These people are having to do things. These people are having to question everything. One of the excerpts I saw, which I can't use because it's 60 Minutes and they hate when you use their stuff. The guy said, Emil Bove, the guy that President Trump announced and confirmed and had got confirmed, he went to some of these people. And I guess the quotation that this guy made was that Emil Bove said, you know, we're going to have to laugh at some of these judges and we're going to have to get some stuff done. They don't like hearing that because they need these district court judges to be the ears and eyes over President Trump. And this administration understands what they have to do. And when I heard that on 60 Minutes last night, that told me, number one, they're not paying attention to these district court judges. And number two, one of the ways not to have to listen to these district court judges is to eventually, if you get to that point, pull the trigger on the Insurrection Act, which then they can't stop anything. So if it gets to the point, and from last night, when he smiled in the camera and said, I might have to use it, I don't think he said that lightly. I think he knew exactly what he was going with that, and that you guys keep pushing with these crazy judges, we might have to go there.
28,000. 28,000. We're not even done with the year. We haven't even hit Thanksgiving or Christmas yet. Shows you when you get a president, an attorney general, a deputy attorney general, and an FBI leadership team that lets the FBI do FBI work instead of getting into other nonsense in the past. Look what happens. Your cities get cleaner.
Dan, the governor's going to push back on this. He's already writing this on X. Fact check. Nobody wants you here. You will ruin one of America's greatest cities. He used to be the mayor of
You're going to ruin one of America's greatest cities. You know, if you've never been to San Francisco, it was a beautiful, well, I guess parts of it still are beautiful. I used to love the Crooked Street. That's a pretty cool street in San Francisco. But I can't for the life of me understand why the Democrats are okay with filth and crime and homelessness and all these different things to take over once beautiful, vibrant cities. It's obviously been intentional. All the big cities that I've ever been to, New York, Baltimore, Washington, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles. I'm trying to just go off the top of my head. The large cities in the country, Boston. They were known for, obviously in Boston, you got the Seaport and you got the Red Sox, and you've got these major metropolitan areas that were for decades vibrant cities. And methodically, these cities have turned into hellholes once again. Those of you who are old enough to, maybe as old as I am, may remember what Rudy Giuliani did in New York City. He took New York City and basically did a spit shine, used the RICO Act and went in there and got all kinds of the criminals out, cleaned it up, and it became a mecca. Unfortunately now, actually literally a mecca. But back then, people wanted to go. They wanted to go see Broadway shows. They wanted to go shopping. They went to Macy's Day Parade. All these different things. People from around the world would want to come and visit New York City. And there wasn't much threat. You could pretty much go anywhere. And now, Greenwich Village, Soho, it was so interesting. And now I won't go back there. I will not go back to New York City. I don't want to deal with the mounting trash that are 8 feet tall and what they've been doing. And so when you look at these cities now, again, the ones I just mentioned, these are beautiful cities. And the only common denominator as to what has happened has been Democratic ideology. That's it. Nothing else has changed. And these Democrats have allowed, intentionally I will proffer, to do this over and over and over and over in each city. For what reason? I don't know, but it's becoming quite obvious.
San Francisco, obviously now he's the governor. What are you going to do if he says you can't come in here?
Well, we don't answer to the governor of California. We answer to the president, the American people, the attorney general, and the deputy attorney general. That's the chain of command. Listen, I'm not going to get into a match. I was going to say something different, but got to control my queen's mouth on the air with Gavin Newsom. But when he says this comment, what is that? Nobody wants you here.
Yeah.
Really? Ask the 67-year-old woman living in a drug-ridden area of L.A. or San Francisco or what else, who's had some guy slinging crack on the corner for 10 years now, harassing her grandkids. Go ask her if she wants us and the FBI, the U.S. Marshals and the DEA, and all the operations of the federal government in there to clean up the city. Go ask her. Go find her. I promise. There's not a limited sample size of people. That's kind of a BS remark. The people do want us there. I can tell you, I live in D.C. now. Obviously, the headquarters is right down the block from your D.C. studio here. I'm going there afterwards. I was out this weekend on the Washington Mall. Got to touch some grass, get some sun once in a while. It was Sunday. And I saw about 10 or 15 National Guard folks. I'm telling you, all right, granted, it's just my single subject designed for that day. I saw at least in that half hour I was there, 10, 15 people thank them for being there. So don't believe the hype. D.C.
One of the things that I was talking to some people over the weekend, and it was very interesting because as a young boy growing up, my father was in the Army, then he was in the National Guard. Who shied away from seeing soldiers? When I would see a soldier, I'd be like, wow, that's so cool. Or when I saw a police officer, or when I saw a firefighter, wow, that's so cool. That's your fire truck? That's your police car? You're a soldier? Is that a real gun? Oh, you get to drive around. We loved it. It wasn't something that we sat back and went, oh my God, it's authoritarian. There's soldiers in the street. No, we loved it. Every little boy growing up played with your G.I. Joe things and everything else. We loved seeing soldiers. Remember that ideology that we all grew up on was to respect military, was to respect authority. Maybe sometimes we respected authority too much and they took advantage of that. But as a little kid, even what was the movie with Tom Hanks? Toy Story, the little green army men. I bet you they wouldn't put that in there nowadays. They snuck that in before all the wokeness had happened. But we all love seeing the military. We all love seeing a parade. Hold on, President Trump is at the gate, so here we go.
trucks are your message to the people of Australia?
We love them.
What do you hope to accomplish today with the Prime Minister?
A lot. A lot. Great things. Thank you very much. We're going to get a lot done.
I love that. What do you expect to accomplish? A lot. We're going to do a lot. So give me a second here. I'm going to have to change cameras in case this thing comes up faster than we expected. So time out with Dan Bongino. Let's do a run with Silver right now.
It's genius. It's pure genius. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Why do so many financial experts call silver the most undervalued asset today? Because silver is essential to the future, from solar tech and electric vehicles to the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. Demand is rising fast, and yet silver is still trading at a bargain. With billions pouring into AI, silver prices have only one place to go, and that's up. In fact, silver may be the most overlooked asset class in financial planning. The opportunity for silver is well documented. The market for silver could double or even triple by 2026. You see, I believe in hard assets like this bar of silver. You can hold it in your hand, you can put it in your IRA, you can put it in your home safe, and relative to gold, it's very affordable. That's why I urge you to call my friends at Lear Capital and get their free report, The AI Revolution, and see why silver prices could be set to soar. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. But don't wait. We all know. We've seen it. The government can print lots and lots of dollars, but they can't print silver. All right, so we're all set up and ready for the meeting and press conference as soon as it pops up. But as I was saying, I was talking about Dan Bongino and talking about the military, police, firefighters, firemen, as we used to call them back in the day. And it was nothing to be afraid of. It was something we all wanted to see. Many of you, I'm sure, when you were younger, you went to a parade. And what was a parade? The parade was a huge contingent of military people, a huge contingent of police, and everyone cheered and waved their flags, and it was incredible. It was awesome. That's what we wanted to do. When did it change? How did it change? How come now, if you see a group of policemen, I feel danger. I'm in danger. It's dangerous. It's BS. This has been manufactured. People have always loved being around the military. How many movies? I mean, John Wayne wouldn't have had a career if people were terrified of the military. So many movies. Lee Marvin, The Dirty Dozen, not Dirty Dozen, yeah, Dirty Dozen. All those movies were made because of the military. Crazy how we, at this point up in 2025, they've completely turned a bunch of the nuts away from authority and respect. Not authoritarianism, authority and respect. And hopefully that's what President Trump is trying to bring back.
That this is one of those cities where people are looking for safety too.
So Gavin Newsom is an expert on ruining cities, so you have to take him as an expert there. He did ruin San Francisco, and now he's basically ruined the state. Dan Lurie, we understand, has done a better job than London Breed as mayor. Hopefully he cooperates like the mayor of Memphis. But we saw this disturbing thing, a hunting stand right in the area of Palm Beach Airport, which would have had a clear shot at Air Force One. We can see it. What could you tell us about this, Dan?
Yeah, I was on the phone about this all day yesterday. It's interesting. When I got back from the mall, most of my you don't get the days off here. It's something you sign up for. So it's unfortunate sometimes we got to take care of these things. We wish they wouldn't happen. But here's what happens with this. Let me walk the American public through how this works. The FBI is not responsible, obviously, for the security plan of the president. That's the purview of the Secret Service. However, if the Secret Service finds something that they believe could be criminal, I want to emphasize it could be, we take over. We have what's called an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with the Secret Service, where we will investigate after that. I was on the phone yesterday, back and forth with the D2, the Deputy Director over at the Secret Service, Matt Quinn, great guy. They were very concerned. Their security sweep discovered this hunting stand. The director was, Kash Patel, was directly involved right away. I'm on the email chain with him. He ordered an immediate response. I believe we had our plane flown down there. This hunting stand was appropriately dismantled, being flown to our lab. I believe it's there right now. And
all right, so as you're looking at this thing, you can see, let me see if my mouse works on it. I don't know if but anyway, you can see it up there. It looks like a nest, a giant nest that's sitting up there. One of the problems I had with this story, and I heard what Dan said, and I heard what a few other people said, one of the problems that I have with this, because I know exactly where this area is, and it's not like it's in the middle of the woods. The Palm Beach County Airport is in a pretty much a metropolitan setting, so it's not like it's dense, woodsy area. It sits right in the middle of West Palm Beach. In fact, if you go to different restaurants, they fly right over your head. So it's not like it's, some obstructed place with really dense wooded areas. And that's number one. I want people to understand the setting. It's not just in the middle of nowhere. It's downtown West Palm Beach. Now, so if you imagine an airport being in downtown West Palm Beach, we're not talking about a lot of trees surrounding this thing. There are trees that are decorative and they're spread out, but it's not woods. So the thing that caught my eye in this article as I read through it, because I know people were looking at it yesterday, but I almost drove up there. I could probably drive up there and take a picture of this area for you. The thing that got me is they said it has been there, quote, for a couple of months. Excuse me? You found it this past weekend, but it's been there for a couple of months? Look at this thing again. As you can see, okay, so it's sitting up there where anybody who has been trained to look and secure an area would have seen this thing. And you're telling me it's been sitting there for, quote, months. Once again, Dan, love Dan, he has nothing to do with this. This is Secret Service. That's a security breach, yet again. Thankfully, somebody found it now. Thankfully, somebody went by and said, whoa, what in the hell is that? Thankfully, somebody finally looked up as they were doing the perimeter and saw this thing was sitting up there. How many times has someone perched? See, I wanted to make sure I made the distinction because he didn't make it. If you're not familiar with Palm Beach International Airport, it's not like it would have been there so somebody could have gone hunting. It's not next to the woods where there's some deer and moose and stuff running around. There's nothing there but highways and streets. So that was obviously constructed with the sole purpose of what you would imagine it was there for. There's going to be no mistaking. You watch as this thing goes forward. I don't know what kind of evidence they're going to be able to pull from this, but that is not something that anybody's going to say, well, it was just somebody hunting. What are they hunting? Volkswagens? There are just cars around. Or were they there to take out somebody else's plane? That may be even worse. Were they there? Was it there to do a terrorist attack? And it was going to take out another plane that landed. But just because, as they say, it had a sight line to Air Force One where it parks, but it also would then have a sight line to lots of planes on ordinary days. That's something else they're not saying. So it wasn't like, it's Air Force One's designated spot. You have access to the entire airport. So maybe perhaps that was intended on a different airplane. Or maybe it's been sitting there for so long, the opportunity that whoever was going to do something, that passed. Maybe that was one of the places where that idiot who chased him on the golf course. Who knows? But the bottom line is somebody didn't do their job once again. You've heard the old statement many a times. You got to be on point every single time. It only takes the bad guys once. Those bad guys, they can be successful one time, like with Charlie Kirk, and that's it. All the ones you foil, those guys were wrong. They did it wrong, whatever, the wind, anything. But that one person, that one miscreant that decides they want to slither up a tree and take a shot only has to be right once. Something is definitely wrong with the Secret Service if this thing has been sitting there for months. So I just wanted to give you a little lay of the land there. It's not good. It's not good.
Forensic tools we have, from digital tools to biometric tools, they are all going to be applied to try to find out who put this up there and why.
Mr. Deputy Director, big picture here, the snipers have become a problem. The first assassination attempt against the president, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the attempted assassination of our ICE officers, that's the new tool now. They're attacking from the top.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a new tool. It's an old tool that may be used more often by folks who realize that there's some tactical advantage to distance and cover. The Secret Service has had to make a lot of modifications, Lawrence, given that this tool was obviously used or attempted to be used multiple times. They've expanded their security perimeter, how they do. I'm very close friends with the director over there and the deputy director, and some of those.
See, that's okay. So July 13th of 2024, somebody takes a shot at President Trump. A couple months later or so, the guy slithering around at the golf course wants to take a shot at President Trump. I would think the protocol changed on July 14th, 2024. I would think at this point that people are looking at high ground, they're checking out vantage points, they're understanding what can and can't be done, what kind of shot could be taken from whatever vantage point. Make sure maybe that the plane door doesn't open where that vantage point is. All these different things that it wouldn't take brain surgery. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this movie. The movie is called, what was the name of the movie? Movie with Marky Wahlberg. Shooter. When they tried to take somebody out and they wanted to shoot from a mile away. And that mile away shot was where he had to conduct wind analysis, all kinds of things to take a shot at the person on the podium. And it can be done. So we're talking about a major airport. It's not as big as Miami or Fort Lauderdale. It's the third airport here in South Florida. But it's not, from a perimeter perspective, it's probably not that hard to secure. There's nothing there. I mean, there's some hotels off in the distance. There's some restaurants and things of that nature, but it's not getting high. There are really no high buildings within a good perimeter of Palm Beach International Airport. So there's a couple of trees. So it wouldn't have been like it would have taken a lot of effort to say, hey, Fred, go check out the tree line. Or how about this? Hey, Fred, stand post at the tree line. Don't give somebody the opportunity to scurry up like a rat into a tree. Put somebody there. Put a body there. A body with a radio so he can call in. Yeah, all clear here. It's not that hard. So obviously this was a huge security failure. And Dan's on right now, not from the Secret Service, but from the FBI, trying to say we're on the case. But the information we'd want is the Secret Service. Hey, how did this happen? Why is there no press conference here? What in the hell was that? How come nobody noticed it for months?
Modifications have been made, and I think you saw the modifications with the discovery of this hunting stand set up in the tree outside of West Palm Beach. But yeah, there's no room. This is a zero-fail mission, Lawrence. No time for a BS here. It's zero fail. You can't have a mistake here. It's just not. I haven't been a Secret Service agent and now an FBI agent, and with the NYPD, I can tell you this is one of those missions where there's no do-overs.
I'm glad they found it.
Yeah, great job, whoever found it.
Hats off to that person.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, you don't be a stranger. You know, these 3 months in between appearances don't work for us. We need it a little bit closer, okay?
Hey, listen, man, there's a lot of work to do. We got to go clean up America and save America. And now that the president and the AG let us do it, I'm having a lot of fun, man. I feel like I was born for this, So I'll see you guys again one day, but you've got to save the world first.
I find it interesting that they put Dan out there today to talk about that. Yeah, the San Francisco thing, who cares? Newsom, it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. But this high hide right by the airport where somebody could have perched and taken a shot, a lot of people are talking about it. And one of the things, I wanted to let that interview to play out to see if he would discuss that perimeter. maybe it's time to get in the car and go do a road shot so you guys can actually see where that tree is. And I will do that. I will take a shot of that tree and go, look, there's nothing else here. There's no reason why nobody would have known this thing was sitting there. Or perhaps they knew it was there. See, that's the other thing. They're not going to tell us. Who the hell are we? We don't get the inside information on operation. Now they've become, they decided to go clean. Maybe they've been watching this thing for a couple of months. See, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I can't think they're that incompetent. I'm wondering if they've been waiting for someone to come back so that they would then know who is involved in everything else. Something don't sound right here, not from a conspiratorial thing. I don't want you to think I've got some grand conspiracy. I'm thinking this was a trap, and then they waited and they waited and they waited to see if somebody would show up. And then when nobody showed up, they're like, all right, let's take it down. Let's send in the forensics. Because your admission that it has been there for a few months would make you look more incompetent. Every single one of you are like, what are you talking about? What do you mean this thing's been sitting there for months? Yeah, it's incredulous. You wouldn't believe it. I don't believe it. I believe they've been watching it. I believe they've had eyes on this thing for quite some time. My feeling is, knowing where this area is, they've been watching it to see if the bait was there, if President Trump coming back, if it was going to cause someone to climb up in a tree. Because remember, and you wouldn't remember, but Robin and I have been wondering, hey, when's he coming down to the winter White House? It's been a while since he's been back here to South Florida. So maybe that was there, and some bad guy was waiting to see what would happen and find out when he came. And also the good guys they had eyes on it. They were wondering what the schedule was going to be like, because where that stuff is, people would have seen it. So if they would have seen it and they didn't take it down, they waited, and could they have made it a trap to see if the bad guys were going to show up? And then when he came down here this weekend and no bad guys showed up, now they went ahead and disclosed, well, we're going to dismantle this thing and send it all around the world and look into it. That makes more sense to me. Maybe it doesn't make sense to you, but I can't believe that would be that level of incompetence. I don't think Dan would be smiling the way he was. That would have been a serious breach of security. Serious. Something that would have been freaking people out. And he didn't look freaked out. And so my personal belief is they knew it, and they waited until President Trump came back down, and they scoped it out, hoping some bad guy would scurry up that tree, and nobody did. So possibly. What are you thinking? His longest sniper shot was 4,374 yards, almost that's almost a mile. Yeah. My thoughts exactly. They were going for a trap. That location was watched the entire time. When you play it out, that makes more sense. I'm like, wait a minute, for months? You just let President Trump land and you knew there was a hide sitting there for months? Nah. They were hoping that somebody would come back and then that person would scurry back up the tree. Now I'll put on the conspiracy hat. You ready for the conspiracy hat? It was an inside job, and somebody found out they had found out about the hide, and they abandoned it. Take it all the way down. Yeah, they were found out and they didn't come back. Bingo. Somehow they figured it out, and it was a giant psyop, and they're like, who? Not psyop, but trap, to see who was going to come back. And that person found out that they found out. I know that you know, and I'm not touching it. And so it was abandoned. I guess the one thing we can understand from this, the one thing I think we can basically count on, is that he's a huge, huge target everywhere he goes. They are not going to stop. All we can do is pray and hope that God's got his back, because they are not going to stop. He's getting close to destroying the Democrat Party. He's getting close to destroying the global network. He's finding kids. He's exposing judges. There's too much happening that they've worked so long for. And this guy is going to take them down. All right, so they got the cameras on. Oh, full cabinet there too. Okay, let's listen in.
Oh, that one really. Yeah, in America or in yeah, the Italians like that.
Good, I like that. Whoa, that's a big crowd today. We must have the Prime Minister of Australia here.
There's a few Australians there.
Just give us a minute. You see what I mean? You'd be sitting right there.
But they're a friendly lot. They're all
That's a
covering.
big boy. That must be a very important country we're dealing with, huh? Whoa, that's a big crowd today. We must have the Prime Minister of Australia here.
There's a few Australians there.
Just give us a minute. You see what I mean? You'd be sitting right there.
But they're a friendly lot. They're all
That's a
covering.
big boy. That must be a very important country we're dealing with, huh? Did you want to move your camera over here? Or are we going to have... Who are you shooting for? Where's the pool? It's all right, leave it. I hear you're very popular today, right? I mean, it varies from day to day, but with all of us. But he's done a fantastic job as the Prime Minister. We're here to talk about trade, submarines, lots of other military equipment. They're big orderers of our great military equipment. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world by far. And, ooh, you got to watch that. Watch that. You're not allowed to break that. That mirror is 400 years old. A camera just hit the mirror. Hey. Talk about trade, submarines, lots of other military equipment. They're big
Yes, I'm
orders of
testing
our
different
great military
feeds.
equipment. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world by far. And, ooh, you got to watch that. Watch that. You're not allowed to break that. That mirror is 400 years old. A camera just hit the mirror. Hey. I just moved it up here special from the vaults, and first thing that happens, the camera hits it. Hard to believe, isn't it? Hard to believe, but these are the problems in life. So we're going to be here to talk about lots of different things, and we might take a few questions before, but we are discussing critical minerals and rare earths, and we're going to be signing an agreement that's been negotiated over a period of 4 or 5 months. And it was sort of good timing that we got it done just in time for the visit. And we worked together very much on rare earths, critical minerals, and lots of other things. And we've had a very good relationship. We've been working on that for quite a while. In about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them. They'll be worth about $2. But in the meantime, we're working with Australia and other countries. They're working with us too, but other countries also on that. But we're really working on anything having to do with military protection, military ships, vehicles, guns, ammunition, everything, the whole thing. We've been long-time allies, and I would say there's never been anybody better. We fought wars together. We never had any doubts, and it's a great honor to have you as my friend. It's a great honor to have you in the United States of America. Please, would you like to say something?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. President, for the invitation here to the White House and for showing us around the improved Oval Office, and for what you're doing around here as well, and for the great honour as well of my delegation saying just across the road we could have walked, but they didn't let us. We drove all of 20 metres there from Blair House, but it's a great honour to be able to stay there. We are great friends and we're great allies, and this is a relationship that's been forged in the battlefields of the world. We have stood side by side for freedom and democracy, and congratulations, I must say, Mr. President, on the work that you've done with the Middle East. It's an extraordinary achievement. And on defence, we've already had a discussion about taking it to the next level. Our defence and security partnership with AUKUS is so important for us, and I thank you for the support that the administration are giving as well. You've had the Chief of the Navy here as well, which will play obviously a very critical role with the subs and increasing the security for the region and the world. And our economic relationship is so important. The US has a trade surplus with Australia, as you know, and we can continue to take what is every opportunity to improve the relationship even further and make it even stronger. And today's agreement on critical minerals and rare earths is just taking it to the next level, seizing those opportunities which are before us to take our relationship to that next level. And it's been fantastic, the contact that we've had together, the friendship that we've developed. And Australians love America, and I think Americans kind of like Australia too.
Sure, we do.
And as we go forward, I think that today will be seen as a really significant day in our relationship. So I thank you very much, Mr. President.
Well, thank you very much, Anthony. It's an honor to sign this, and we'll do it now. And then we'll take some questions. Some good ones, I think. Okay.
Well, this is a $8.5 billion pipeline that we have ready to go.
That's right. It's all ready to go.
Just getting started.
And we're doing a real job on rare earth and many other things. Perhaps I could ask John to say a few words, and then we'll exchange papers. But just how are we doing on your naval purchases and all of the submarines that we're working on with Australia? How's that going?
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, Australia is a very important ally of ours in the Indo-Pacific and in every battle. They fought with us since World War I and have always been side by side. The facility that they're building, Surf West, is critical and very important to our ability to project power in the Indo-Pacific and work with our allies. So we're working very closely. I think what we're really trying to do is take the original AUKUS framework and improve it for all three parties and make it better and clarify some of the ambiguity that was in the prior agreement. So it should be a win-win for everybody, sir.
And the submarines that we're building for Australia are starting to really move along, right? The process is getting very exciting, isn't it?
We're getting better.
That's good. Very good.
It's going to be great.
Thank you very much. Maybe we'll hold this up. Okay.
Here we go.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
The AUKUS submarine pact, the AUKUS defence pact that the Prime Minister just mentioned, it is a critical issue for Australia.
Yes.
You haven't really spoken much about it publicly. It was a deal that was done under Joe Biden to sell submarines to Australia at a time when you're not really making enough for your own needs. So can you tell us, have you gotten across the details of the deal? Do you support it, and will you honour it?
It was made a while ago, and nobody did anything about it, and it was going too slowly. We do actually have a lot of submarines. We have the best submarines in the world, anywhere in the world, and we're building a few more currently under construction. And now we're starting, we have it all set. With Anthony, we've worked on this long and hard, and we're starting that process right now, and I think it's really moving along very rapidly, very well.
But if the rate of submarine production doesn't continue, how can you guarantee Australia will get the votes?
Oh, it's getting. Oh, no, they're getting.
Mr. President, at least 32 people have been killed in those.
Excuse me, you're next.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
China's bad behavior has really only gotten worse since the AUKUS partnership was formed. With that in mind, is the door open for Australia to get additional nuclear-powered submarines or other military capabilities not already in the deal?
I think China's been very respectful of us. They're paying tremendous amounts of money to us as in the form of tariffs. As you know, they're paying 55%. That's a lot of money. They never were paying anything over years and years and years. But they were like anybody else. A lot of countries took advantage of the U.S. They're not taking advantage anymore. No, China's paying 55% and a potential 155% come November 1st unless we make a deal. And I'm meeting with President Xi. We have a very good relationship. We're going to be meeting in South Korea in a couple of weeks. And we'll see what we can do. We have a very good relationship with China, but you know, it's been probably a little bit like your relationship with China. They try and take advantage, but most countries do. I mean, I can say the European Union took advantage, but not anymore. We worked out a very fair trade deal. Japan, we worked out a very fair deal. South Korea, where I'll be meeting President Xi, we worked out a very fair deal. And I expect we'll probably work out a very fair deal with President Xi of China. So most of you will be with us. It's going to be very exciting. And I think we're going to work out something that's good for both countries.
Are you at least interested in expediting the nuclear-powered subs to Australia?
Well, we are doing that, yeah. We're doing that. We have them moving very, very quickly.
Mr. President, I don't think you've ever been to Australia. Have you thought about coming to Australia and trying out some of the golf courses?
I would, and I actually have been to Australia, and I did play one of your great golf courses. They have great golf courses there. But I have been to Australia, actually.
Would you come again?
Oh, I would. In fact, I've been invited to go, and
Indeed.
I'll have to give it serious consideration. No, it's a real possibility.
Did the Prime Minister invite you today?
He did.
And perhaps we could time it, must be said, with the President's Cup that Australia hosts as well.
When is the President's Cup?
We'll organise it at a time suitable for you, Mr. President.
Please, in the back, please. Yeah, in the back.
Yeah, Mr. President, the Prime Minister mentioned that there's a trade imbalance that's very heavily in America's favour. Why does America slap such heavy tariffs on a friend and ally?
Well, we don't,
Australia?
yeah. Well, we do in some cases. We do in many cases because we've been treated unfairly. But actually, the tariffs are very light. The one thing is you buy a lot of airplanes, so that helps because you buy a lot of the beautiful Boeings, the best of the Boeings. Boeing, and by the way, Boeing is really doing well. They have lots of orders, and they're really doing a great job. They make a great plane. But Australia, because of its location, which is great, but one of the things dictated by that location is you have to order a lot of airplanes. So I guess we have that advantage. They need a lot of airplanes in Australia, and that gives us a little bit of an advantage.
Mr. President, yeah, your Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, in his Shangri-La speech in, I think it was May, warned about the potential likelihood or threat of President Xi ordering an invasion of Taiwan. 2027 is also the year that Fleet Base West is supposed to start rotating those US and UK submarines. Do you see AUKUS as a deterrent for China in the Indo-Pacific?
Yeah, I do. I think it is, but I don't think we're going to need it. I think we'll be just fine with China. China doesn't want to do that. First of all, the United States is the strongest military power in the world by far. It's not even close. Not even close. We have the best equipment. We have the best of everything, and nobody's going to mess with that. And I don't see that at all with President Xi. I think we're going to get along very well as it pertains to Taiwan and others. Now, that doesn't mean it's not the apple of his eye, because probably it is. But I don't see anything happening. We have a very good trade relationship. We're going to have a very good, I think when we leave South Korea, it could be wrong, but I think we'll end up with a very strong trade deal. Both of us will be happy. No, I don't see that happening, no.
Mr. President, given the trade surplus that the US enjoys with Australia, would you consider lifting the tariffs that you've imposed on Australia? And can you give us any details about the critical...
Yeah, well, the tariffs have been amazing because, tariffs have been really a reason that I was able to settle almost all of the, I've settled 8 wars in 8 months. Not bad. I have one more to go. It's Russia, Ukraine, and I think we'll get there, but it's turned out to be nasty because you have 2 leaders that truly hate each other, You can't have it all, right? They hate each other beyond all else, and it makes it actually a little bit difficult. But we try, of the 8 deals, I would say because of tariffs, 4 or 5 of them were settled. It's an amazing thing, the power of tariffs in terms of our country. But tariffs have always been used against us. We never use them against anywhere else. And now you have a president that for national security reasons and other reasons is using them. And we've become a very rich nation again and a very secure nation again. But we've also become a nation that used that power of tariffs and the power of trade to settle 5 of the 8 wars that I settled. I settled 8. I'm very proud of that. Nobody else has settled 1. I don't think there's been an American president that settled 1. I think there probably hasn't been outside of the 2 countries involved, or however many are at war. I don't think there's ever been an outside country that settled a war, period. So I settled 8 in 8 months. I'm proud of that. Now, in the meantime, I'm running a country that's right now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We were dead. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country in the world, economically and otherwise. So. But I will say this, Australia pays very low tariffs, very, very low tariffs. In fact, Australia pays among the lowest tariffs. Please, go ahead.
Mr. President, there's been concern in Australia that it's taken 9 months to get this meeting. Have you had any concerns with this administration, with its stance on Palestine, climate change, or even things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
I don't know anything about him. I mean, if he said bad, then maybe he'll like to apologize. I really don't know. Did an ambassador say something bad about him? Don't tell me. I don't. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President.
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will. Go ahead. No, you went. Go ahead. Behind you.
Mr. President, your Secretary of the Navy said there will be some clarifications around some ambiguities on AUKUS. Can you tell us?
Well, he'll get that taken care of. These are just minor details that he'll take care of. John, you're going to get that taken care of, right? There shouldn't be any more clarifications because we're just going now full steam ahead building. Yeah, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, are you now satisfied with Australia's defence investment, or do you want Australia to invest more in defence?
Well, I'd always like more, but they have to do what they have to do. You can only do so much. I think they've been great. They're building magnificent holding pads for the submarines. It's going to be expensive, too. You wouldn't believe the level of complexity, right, and how expensive it is. They're building tremendous docking because they have a lot of ships and a lot of things happening. And I think their military has been very strong, very, very strong. Over here, please.
Mr. President, on the war that you haven't solved yet, the Ukraine-Russia situation, have you now locked in a meeting? And can you explain, just a few weeks ago at UNGA, you said that Ukraine could possibly win the war and
well, they could. They could still win it. I don't think they will, but they could still win it. I never said they would win it. I said they could win. Anything can happen. War is a very strange thing. A lot of bad things happen, a lot of good things happen. If you look at the Middle East, I would say prior to us hitting Iran so hard, we could have never made that deal because you would have had a dark cloud over the Middle East when we took out their nuclear capability, which was one of the great military maneuvers of all time. It was flawless. You saw that. Yeah. Those magnificent B-2s. I mean, that was a flawless move that was done by some very talented people, headed up by Pete and everybody else, and our great generals, and General in particular, Raisin Kane. We did a great job. And when that happened, everything was different, and we were able to get a deal. If we didn't do that, if it wasn't, they wanted to do that for 22 years, Mr. Prime Minister. For 22 years, I had the pilots here, the B-2 pilots, and they came to the Oval Office, and I thought they deserved it. They flew 37 hours back and forth We had 52 tankers up there. We had a lot of planes up there with them, but they were the primary plane. But we had a lot of planes, F-22s and F-35s and F-6. We had a lot of planes. But we had 52 tankers. Can you believe that? And it was just like a flawless mission. And when it was finished, the Middle East just opened up. Amazing. And they've wanted to do it for 22 years. The pilots came up to me. They said, for 22 years we practiced this maneuver. 3 times a year for 22 years, our predecessors and us. These are now young pilots, but they're older now. Predecessors practiced it. And they said, we never had a president that would let us do it, but I let him do it. And it totally opened up the Middle East. It took the cloud over we had a dark cloud over the Middle East, and now it's all, we have a little situation relatively with Hamas, and that will be taken care of very quickly if they don't straighten it out themselves, because they're in violation of their agreement.
Thank you, Mr. President. On rare earth minerals, Australia is one of the only places in the world that processes rare earth minerals. Could there be an agreement? China has 90% of the processing. Could there be an agreement over processing rare earth minerals with Australia?
Sure, that's what we're doing. It's part of the agreement.
Part of the agreement.
Can you say with certainty?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. Just, sorry.
Yeah.
On a follow-up on Taiwan, there are reports that you will come up, or China is pressuring you to not support independence for Taiwan in exchange for a trade deal.
Well, I'm not going to talk about that. What I'll talk about, you and I will have that discussion in a couple of weeks when I'm in South Korea with President Xi. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. I assume that's going to be one of the things, but I'm not going to talk about that now. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, you just alluded to the violence in the Middle East. What steps is the administration taking to maintain the ceasefire?
Well, a lot of steps, and right now it's in the hands of others. We have 59 countries that agreed to the deal. We have a peace in the Middle East for the first time ever. We made a deal with Hamas that they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that. So they went in, and I don't believe it was the leadership, but they had some rebellion in there among themselves, and they killed some people, a lot of people. But this is a violent group. You probably noticed over the last 100 years, this is a very violent group of people. And they got very rambunctious, and they did things that they shouldn't be doing. And if they keep doing it, then we're going to go in and straighten it out, and it'll happen very quickly and pretty violently, unfortunately. Go ahead.
Yeah, just following up on that question, when you say we are going to eradicate Hamas, who is we? Does that include American boots on the ground?
No, it won't be on the ground at all. We don't need to, because we have many countries, as you know, signed on to this deal. The way I view it, 59 countries, and unanimous. There's never been, nobody ever believed it was countries that 4 months ago didn't like each other, and now they're all aligned together. We've had countries calling me when they saw some of the killing with Hamas, saying, we'd love to go in and take care of the situation ourselves. In addition, you have Israel would go in 2 minutes if I asked him to go in. I could tell him, go in and take care of it. But right now, we haven't said that. We're going to give it a little chance, and hopefully there will be a little less violence. But right now, they're violent people. Hamas has been very violent. But they don't have the backing of Iran anymore. They don't have the backing of really anybody anymore. They have to be good. And if they're not good, they'll be eradicated.
Were any innocent civilians killed in the Caribbean, Mr. President?
Not you. Go on, please.
Could the Prime Minister weigh in more on the processing?
Yeah. And can Australia expand the process of rare earths?
Absolutely we can, and we have the capacity to do so, and part of this deal is very specific, $8.5 billion pipeline. There'll be $1 billion contributed from Australia and the United States over the next 6 months with projects that are immediately available. There's 3 groups of projects, ones that are joint activities between Australia and the United States, such as Alcoa. Secondly is projects that will be US investment that the US will undertake in Australia, including processing, and then ones that Australia will undertake, some as well. One of them is Australia, the US and Japan as well. So what we're trying to do here is to take the opportunities which are there. Australia has had a view for some time, a bit similar to putting America first.
Right.
Our plan's called A Future Made in Australia, which is about not just digging things up and exporting them, but how do we make sure that we have across the supply chains with our friends being able to benefit, seize those opportunities. So we certainly see part of what this is about isn't just digging things up, it's also about processing, including the joint ventures between Australia and the United States.
Prime Minister, can the US and Australia really compete with China? Aren't we decades behind in terms of the development?
No, you've been reading the wrong newspapers. We're not decades. We are way ahead of China militarily, the United States. We're way ahead of them in every form of military, other than they're building a lot of ships, and we'll have that started. We'll be catching them on that.
When it comes to
but we will, when it comes to weaponry, when it comes to, I'll go right now, AI. The big thing is AI. They're building more plants in this country than anybody ever imagined. We're going to have over $20 trillion of investment for this year. The most we ever had was a tiny fraction of that. As an example, Biden, who's the worst president in the history of our country by far, by the way, but they were less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We're already now breaking $18 trillion of investment in 8 months. $18 trillion. No country in history has ever done that. We're way ahead of China in AI, and we're way ahead of China militarily from the standpoint of the sophisticated weapons. We have weapons that a lot of people don't even know about it. I got them started 4 years ago. I rebuilt the military 4 years ago, fortunately, because Biden didn't do anything but give a piece of it away to Afghanistan. Fortunately, as much as it sounded like it was a small part of what I built, but the Afghanistan giveaway was one of the worst. That was probably the most embarrassing day in the period in the history of our country. But we have the greatest military. We have the best equipment. We have the best manufacturers of equipment. We have the best weapons. When you look at our weapons, I've been talking a lot about our weapons. Everybody wants our weapons. But it's great to be working with Anthony. It's great to be working with the people of Australia, because they also, it's a smaller country, but you have done a fantastic job in weaponry and the kind of things. So we do a lot of joint work together. Our militaries work very, very closely together. We've been really an amazing ally when you think of it, right? There's never been any games. We're strongly committed, and they're strongly committed. There are some games with other countries, but there haven't been games with Australia. Where do you come from?
I'm from Australia.
Who are you with?
The Sydney Morning Herald.
Nasty guy. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to ask a question.
All right, go ahead.
On your first term, you worked with two Australian Prime Ministers, Scott Morrison and Malcolm Turnbull, you might remember.
Right.
They were from same side of politics as you, Mr Albanese's different side. Can you tell us a bit more about what it's like to work with Mr Albanese compared to those two?
Well, I got along. That wouldn't be fair, because, the man on my right has a big advantage. You know that, right? But I think he's doing a really good job, and we've had a very good relationship. I don't want to compare one with the other, but I'll tell you, this one is. They really have a great prime minister.
Thank you.
Okay, was that a good statement?
I'll use it in my ads in 28.
President Putin on Thursday, did you discuss his ongoing attacks on civilian areas in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Did you say cut it out? Did you say show an article of good faith to me?
I did. But as you know, most of the people dying are soldiers. The soldiers that are dying in Russia and Ukraine, it's unbelievable. 5,000 to 7,000 a week. Can you believe it? And I look at that and I say it's pretty amazing. But in addition to that, there are attacks on Kiev and some of the other places. And it's human lives, but the big number of human lives are soldiers that are being killed in the battlefield. Anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000, sometimes more than that every single week. It's not even believable. It's It's a bloodbath. It's the worst since the Second World War, the worst number of people. And, it doesn't affect us in any way. We don't pay anything because now they pay us for the weapons that they get. The NATO is paying us for the weapons, as you know. It doesn't affect. I guess you could say that's a positive thing. They pay us, but I'm not interested in that. I did straighten it out. Biden gave them $350 billion. Can you believe it? And all they did is get deeper in. It's a shame. Gave them $350 billion. A lot of lives were lost. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president. But we do speak about that. I speak about all of the lives, but I do speak about the civilian lives. Yeah.
The First Lady has done such an amazing job on the Ukrainian children who were abducted by Russia. Would you support Senator Lindsey Graham's bill to declare Russia a terrorist state? And you have within your power, you're the most powerful man on earth. Why don't you just enable Ukraine to finish this war tomorrow?
Well, if you knew anything about what you were talking about, you'd be able. You do. I don't think you do, really. I don't think you do because it's a little more complicated than that. But it sounds easy. We're in the process of trying to make a deal. If we make a deal, that's great. If we don't make a deal, it'll be a lot of people are going to be paying a big price. Quiet.
President Trump, so a question to both of you, if you don't mind. So
I love his haircut.
He's
I'm going to try that. No, I love it. Go ahead.
So, as we all know, China controls 90% of the global supply of critical minerals. They have launched attacks on Australian companies, primarily Lynas Rare Earths. What will happen to China if they don't play fair with this?
So, it's a very interesting question. We have a tremendous power, and that's the power of tariff. And I think that China will come to the table and make a very fair deal, because if they don't, they're going to be paying us 157% in tariffs. Right now, they're paying 55 to 57%. When I was first president, first term, we had the greatest economy we've ever had. And as you know, people don't write too much about it, but China paid us hundreds of billions of dollars worth of money for tariffs. Biden left it, but he didn't enforce it. He gave exceptions to almost everything. And so he left the tariffs, but he didn't really collect the numbers that he should have collected, and because he didn't know what the hell he was doing. So now the tariffs are much higher in China than they were before, and they're high on other countries, depending on whether or not we like that country or we get along, and that's for national security purposes. So I made deals with Japan, I made deals with the European Union, or the whole of Europe practically, but the European Union, made deals with a lot of different people. We have a very fair deal for, I will say, Australia's paying a low number. They do have, I'll change it, we have a little bit of an advantage on that one. I told you, the advantage we have is airplanes. We sell a lot of airplanes to them, and they need them. It's a very vibrant place, and people go in and out, and I look forward to going there myself. And I think it's unlikely I'll be taking a ship. That's a long
journey.
That's a long. But China has treated us with great respect. Now, in the past, they didn't treat other presidents with great respect. They would take hundreds of billions and even trillions of dollars out of the country, and they would spend it and build their military. Now they're treating us with great respect. Now, we'll see what happens. I said, if we don't make a deal, I'm putting on an additional 100% on November 1st. I think we'll make a deal. They threatened us with rare earths, and I threatened them with tariffs, but I could also threaten them with many other things, like airplanes. You know about airplanes, because they can't get parts for their airplanes. We build their airplanes. We do a great job. They're largely Boeings, and we could stop the parts. We did stop the parts, actually, when they did the initial threat. That's a big... They closed down over 400 of their airplanes, but we don't want to do that. But we have a much simpler thing. If we don't make a deal, we'll charge them a very substantial tariff, and they'll be paying us hundreds of billions of dollars a year, which they're basically paying right now. We had presidents that allowed China and other countries get away with murder. We're not going to allow that, but we're going to have a fair deal. I want to be good to China. I love my relationship with President Xi. We have a great relationship. I believe after we leave South Korea, we'll be there together. we thought that would be a good place to meet. And we're going to be meeting. I'll be in Malaysia, I'll be in Japan, I'll be in a couple of others. We'll be sort of doing a little bit of a tour. I've been invited to go to China, and I'll be doing that sometime fairly early next year. We have it sort of set. But I think we're going to have a very good relationship with China. And again, they will threaten us with rare earths. I don't think they're threatening us too much right now. But they could do that, but I threaten them with something I think is much more powerful, and that's tariffs. Because at a certain point, they will not be able to do any business with us. At a certain point, if they pay enough tariffs, it's almost like saying, we don't want to do business with you, but it's probably nicer. Saying you're going to pay 158, 157% tariff is a nicer way of saying that we don't want to do business with you. And if they don't do business with us, I think China's in big trouble, I'll be honest with you. I think China is, I don't know that they even make it. I really do. I believe that they're in big trouble. And I don't want them to be in big trouble. I want them to do great. I want them to thrive. But we have to thrive together. It's a two-way street. I think when we finish our meetings, and it's going to be a big deal. Look, I'm meeting with a lot of other countries, but this seems to be the one that people are very interested in. I think when we finish our meetings in South Korea, China and I will have a really fair and really great trade deal together. I want them to buy soybeans. They stopped buying our soybeans because they thought that was punishment. And it is punishment to our farmers, but we're not going to allow that to happen because I made a great trade deal with China, a $50 billion trade deal, and they were great about it. They were doing everything that they were supposed to do. And then when Biden came in, you know, I used to call President Xi all the time to say, thank you, or you're not buying enough. In other words, they were supposed to buy. Biden, do you think Biden ever called him? I don't think Biden ever called him. You think Biden lied awake at night thinking about trade with China? He didn't know what he was doing. He was an incompetent president. We had an incompetent president, but you don't have that anymore. So I think we're going to end up having a fantastic deal with China. It's going to be a great trade deal. It's going to be fantastic for both countries. And it's going to be fantastic for the entire world. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Keep going. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Keep going. No more pictures. Keep going.
Thank you, guys. Keep going. Thank you. Keep going. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
I love when they tell them time to get out. It's so cool. You got to get out of here. All right, so President Trump, they were pretty much on time. They spoke for a little over an hour and 10 minutes or so. Man, I can't believe that some people in the press are so contentious with him. I know what I'm talking about, as the one reporter said. Obviously you don't. Obviously you don't know who you're talking to. Just drives me crazy. All right, so let's continue with the rest of my show. Now that you've heard President Trump, want to talk to you about something that happened that's causing a lot of libnut heads to explode. Arnold Schwarzenegger, someone who hasn't had the kindest words for President Trump, the former governor of California, has spoken out. And if you haven't seen what he says, you're going to understand why their heads are exploding.
We're talking here about saving democracy. What I suggest that the way we save democracy nationwide is to really have a proposal like, for instance, the Save Democracy Act. It's just an idea where we go and make Election Day a holiday, so that everyone has time to go out and go to the election.
Well, again, this is something Democrats are all for and Republicans are all against.
There's a second point. Okay. Second point is you have to have fair redistricting, to have independent redistricting commission in each state all over the United States.
Yeah.
And number three,
except they won't do it.
And number three, to have a voter ID.
I'm sorry. He had Bill Maher. Oh, yeah, we need to redistrict fairly. Yeah, we need to make election day. Oh, see, the Republicans, well, you want to do what? You want to have voter ID? Oh, no.
So that when you go and vote, people should know that you are that person.
Yes.
Those are all things that they have back in Europe.
Right.
So I come from Europe. I'm giving you just ideas, not that I created those ideas. Those are things that are happening in Europe and have happened for centuries.
Right.
So this is why I think that it is important that we do the same thing here. I think if we take those three things.
You realize, and hopefully if you've been watching me or some other people at the same time, voter ID is Democrat kryptonite. Voter ID is that bridge too far. The Democrats are barely hanging on right now by their fingertips. They're barely hanging on as a party. Their ideology is extinct. Nobody wants the stuff that they're selling unless you have green hair and 4 nose rings. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants the communists. Despite what you're seeing about in New York City. Half the city is stupid and they're going to split their vote. Otherwise, this guy would not have a chance. Mandami, I'm talking about. They can't win. And that's with the rules today. If all of a sudden, somehow, we were able to get voter ID, that party would cease to exist. They know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. If you only allowed Americans to vote in the elections, the Democrat Party would go away. It would just wither up like a dry piece of flour and get blown away in the wind. There's no way they can survive. Any argument anybody wants to make, if that's the truth, if you believe that they would survive, then why would you not want voter ID? There's no suppression. It's not causing people not to be able to vote. This is 2025. Everybody can vote. There is no reason why somebody couldn't vote and show ID. None. All of these people getting all these benefits got to have ID to get checks. They got to cash stuff. They got to get EBT cards. So don't talk to me about, oh, it's voter suppression by making people show an ID. That's a lame ass argument. It's over. It's done. Technology is way beyond this at this point. You fighting having to provide voter ID is just telling the rest of the world, basically, that you cannot exist and play on a level playing field. There's nothing the Democrats can do. If that were to happen, you'd watch them. They'd fold up and go get jobs. AOC would go back to bartending. Maybe get a job on The View. It's over. I've always wanted, number one thing I wanted President Trump to do is somehow get voter ID. If you were able to get voter ID, then you'd see a whole lot of things change. I think. You'd probably get some Republicans that are pissed off as well, too. But if we can get voter ID, every single one of you should be pushing voter ID, voter ID, voter ID, and it might be MAGA for life.
There's something that the Republicans like, there's something that the Democrats like. Get together and solve this problem. It's the same. It's no different than talking about energy or anything like that, where Democrats and Republicans can get together. You give something to the Republicans, you create more nuclear power. You give something to the Democrats, create more renewable power, and all of a sudden we have 80% of energy, of clean energy in America. This is the way we have to do it. We have to go talk to each other rather than hating each other.
I don't know what happened to Arnold. I don't know what happened to John Fetterman. It just seems like now there's some people there who are beginning to make common sense. How about we just talk about this? You guys want renewable energy? We're going to need a whole lot more energy origination. We're going to need more refineries. We're going to need more of this. In order for this country to continue to be a superpower, we're going to need all this stuff. We're going to need more silver refinement. We're going to need to have people actually do things that the robots can't. And you better do them before it's too late. Yesterday when we were talking about prosperity, there are still people that are, I'm not using AI. Yeah, you are. You just don't know it. See, that's what I find so interesting is people complaining about AI and they think they aren't already using it. Barry, how can you be so confident that people are already using AI? Because everything you do when you pick up this phone and you call somebody, maybe even your doctor, Hey, let me make an appointment. All right, push 1 for this, push 2 for that. How'd that happen? See, that used to be, something that they would do in the PBX system. Now, most of that stuff's AI. It recognizes your number. It can pull up your chart. It can do everything. Oh, that number. Oh, that's Barry's number. Let me pull up his chart for his knees since he's calling the ortho. Oh, the ortho's going to have it all ready to go. How do you think that's happening? You're using AI already. You just don't realize it. And so instead of saying, I'll never use AI, when you make those kind of statements in the chat that you will never use AI, you're telling everybody you're not that bright. And I don't mean that, I'm not going to call anybody's name out, but the AI is already using you. And so understand, this is 2025. We can do so much more if people just realize you got to get out of the dark ages.
Talk to each other because that's what the people want and that's what the people need.
I gotta ask you something. Do you know what a comet is? No, not that kind of a comet. A comet is a new AI-powered web browser from Perplexity. Let me ask you something. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing, having endless tabs open? That's a lot of stuff for you to handle and be able to go back and forth to find things. Well, stop it. You don't have to do that anymore. I hit the wrong button. Meant to hit this button. I gotta ask you something. Do you know what a comet is? No, not that kind of a comet. A comet is a new AI-powered web browser from Perplexity. Let me ask you something. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing, having endless tabs open? That's a lot of stuff for you to handle and be able to go back and forth to find things. Well, stop it. You don't have to do that anymore. Comet will do that for you. Using Comet feels like having a personal assistant living in your web browser that can actually do things for you across the internet. It gives you answers. It finds things for you. For example, you can ask Comet to handle tasks, and it literally clicks, types, searches, and scrolls just like you would. But it's getting things done for you in the background while you go about your day. Comet can shop for you. It can make reservations. It can book your travel for you. It can summarize articles or videos. It can send emails. It can schedule meetings and a lot more to make your lifestyle much easier. Comet doesn't just give you answers. It gets things done. That's pretty cool. Very cool. It's AI that actually helps you in your daily life today. Before you automatically say no, because I know there's so many people who are so resistant to AI, try it. Actually, try it. You'll be shocked at how it will make your life so much easier. You're in full control of what Comet can do at all times. And if you download Comet today, you'll get 1 month of Rumble Premium for free. So this is the perfect time for you to get Comet. Get yourself your own digital personal assistant who will do stuff for you. Trust me, you won't believe how easy it is and how much time you'll save. I use Comet daily to help me find a lot of the news I bring to you guys. Download Perplexity's new AI web browser, Comet, by heading to http://pplx.ai/Barry. You'll see the link in the description below. And let your browser work for you. And remember, if you download Comet today, you get a month of Rumble Premium for free. Again, that's pplx.ai/Barry. Go now and take back your time online. Reclaiming my time. You know what's funny? As I look at some of the comments while the spots are playing and stuff, I see people say things like, "Can AI clean my chimney?" Well, let's talk about that for a second. Not going to dig into the prosperity. Somebody else said, "Can AI chop wood?" You're being brilliant. I know you're being witty, but you're also being brilliant. Here's why. If you can find things that AI can't do, then you might want to start a business. Because if you think that AI can't clean a chimney or AI can't chop, it can definitely chop wood. But if you find those businesses that AI can't do right now, or may not be able to do for 5 or 10 years, that might be a business you can start. I don't know if they even have chimney cleaners anymore, but if they have, like, I don't know, people who, what do you call it, power wash patios, there's going to be a need for that, because I don't think AI is at the point where the robots can come and do that yet. So if the robots can't do it, then maybe might be something you can think of as a business. I'm always thinking. You guys put up things like that. I go, is that something I could do as a business? I don't know many chimneys down here. We don't have basements in Florida. So all kinds of things go through my mind. Yep, there you go. Start a business. Exactly. By the way, there are so many people, and again, another business thing. There are so many people who are like the people who say, I don't want to use AI, that there's a business right there teaching people who say they don't want to use AI and letting them know you are not going to have a choice. You do not dictate this anymore. I know that's probably going to shock a lot of people. I don't want to use AI. It's no longer going to be your prerogative. Let that sink in. The era of the robots is here. It's just a matter of what you're going to do. And by the way, that's one sponsor, Perplexity. But go ahead and download it and see what it'll do. I mean, you can do shopping lists. You can do all kinds of things where you don't even have to think about it anymore. Hey, listen, schedule me the next time I go to the grocery store to pick up some apples because it's apple season. Well, depending on where you are. You know, some people think just use their calendar. You know what's really funny? I want to show you something. This is pretty cool. I usually take notes on a pad when I'm watching show or news or something, and I've been tearing up and throwing away so much paper. And I'm like, I don't want to have to keep constantly ripping paper and buying pads. So I bought this thing here. It's called a Rocket Book. Not a sponsor. Just wanted to show you this. It's pretty cool. It comes with this little pen thingy here, and I can, take notes as I'm doing stuff. And then all I have to do is use a cloth and wipe it. So I'm always using the same page. But if I want to keep a note, all I do is hover my phone over it, and it turns it into a QR code and saves it. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to send Ashley that. Boom, take a picture of it, bam, right out to somebody. AI, it's taken over, and it has so many different applications. I'm sitting here right now in front of AI. My other office is where I have the bookcase behind me, which I'll be later. But right now, I'm sitting in front of an AI screen. And again, you see that little bit of bleed right there. I have a guy who's going to tell me what lighting setting I have to put on so that bleed goes away. But it's makes things so easy. See right there, back there, where you don't see, there's a little Mexican Chihuahua sitting back there. And then over here is a little Maltese. And I'm going to have to set up the dog cam pretty soon because they're sleeping in their beds right now, both of them back there. But yeah, don't think of reasons not to use AI. I would think of reasons to use AI. And I'm talking about some of the people who I've talked to are some of the most non-tech people you'd want to meet who are really embracing this and going, wow, that made things so much easier. All right, what else we got? What did SB just posted? SB says, breaking. Supreme Court will consider whether regular pot smokers can legally own guns. Why? Why are they wasting time on that? No need for pilots. Exactly. I would like to create some of my own artwork. Yeah, Robin has taught herself to be a watercolor artist from scratch, and now she's got a bigger studio than mine with all kinds of her art supplies in. And the only thing she can't see in my here when I use the AI screen, I can't show her artwork. But yeah, she watches videos and then she learns how to do the stroke, and then she'll go on and say, what kind of brush do I? Oh, you won't even believe. Let's see. Bear, if you're front of AI, how do we know if it's really you? You don't. Except it's me. It is currently 12:36 on the East Coast on October 20th. That's how you know it's me. Although you could probably program AI to do that too, but since I'm the one clicking over right now and bringing the comments in, you know it's pretty much me. Let's see here. Robin is very talented. Yes, she is, SV. She's adventurous. She does it all from scratch. Let's see, you're getting my wheels turning. Yeah, that's the whole idea. Not to say no, not to say yes, just to begin thinking. Like, wait a second, if AI can't clean a pool deck, AI can't rake any leaves, AI can't shovel snow. Remember those things we did because we had to back in the day? And then some of us, our friends said, hey, there's a business there. I'm going to go from house to house and I'm going to shovel people's snow. And the next thing you know, Joe's got a snow blower and he's got 20 accounts and he's making $1,000 a week at 16, just blowing snow. By the way, you got a little bit of time for that. It's only October 20th, but you know, who knows? Depending on where you are, the snow may be already falling. In any event, all right, let's continue. So today's day 20 of the government shutdown. And everybody had been saying that the reason why the shutdown was going this far was because they wanted it to get it to the No Kings rally. And so the No Kings rally came and went with a whimper, gone. And now they're sitting there going, okay, what do we got to show for it? Nothing. I knew it. I told you guys, everybody, too many people paying attention to other things on the weekends. Don't care. Only people going to these things are people like me who wanted to take pictures or people who wanted to go celebrate and have some fun with their other green-haired nose ring friends. But in the end of the day, nothing happened. Nothing. Zippo. Changed no minds. And so it seems as though they're ready to toss in the towel.
Well, first of all, the president has been very active throughout this process, but it's also his position that this is a thing that the Senate needs to work out. A lot of our friends in the Senate have said that it was just bad optics for Democrats to open the government before the No Kings rally, and that now there's a shot that this week things will come together and very quickly the moderate Democrats will move forward and get us an open government, at which point we can negotiate whatever policies they want to negotiate with.
So is it interesting to you, as we know they have no real leader, no, if AOC is who you're leaning on, you're in big trouble. That somebody talked these people into, we got to get this to the No Kings rally, and if we get it to the No Kings rally, oh man, things are going to change. People across the country are going to be pissed off, and then we'll be able to dictate our terms to Trump. And you pushed all in on that. And you listened to this knucklehead, whoever it was. And now you wake up the Monday afterwards and go, we're in no different situation, are we? We are so much in no different situation. President Trump is now pushing harder to keep it closed. I'm going to show you that in a second.
Regular order. Now, I was very pleased to see that my friend Senator Shaheen from New Hampshire, a very sound-minded Democrat, came out and supported opening the government on Friday. So it means that there's sort of cracks in the Schumer armor. I think the Schumer shutdown is likely to end sometime this week. But I can tell you that if the story that we've been basically hearing from moderates that, look, we just can't do it in front of the No Kings rally, if that ends up not being true, then I think that the White House is going to have to look very closely, along with Russ Vought, at stronger measures that we could take to bring him to the table.
Those stronger measures are cutting more of their stuff. I mean, you have to realize what he's saying there. They're going to start cutting more and more and more stuff. I wanted to show you this. It says, just in, President Trump will host the Senate Republicans at the new Rose Garden patio on Tuesday, tomorrow. So I guess we got more work to do per punch bowl, to thank them for standing up to Chuck Schumer's and refusing to give $1.5 trillion for newcomers. The Republicans must continue to tell Chuck to shove it, while Russ Vought cancels more Democrat programs and fires more bureaucrats. We could do this for weeks. You know, it's so funny at this point is that they must be just beside themselves to know that President Trump not only doesn't care if you guys stay out, is going to congratulate the Republicans for keeping you, for holding the line, not caving. And now, even if the Democrats cave, even if they cave, you may still not get a deal. One of the worst situations for these Democrats to have put themselves in is to sit at the table with a negotiator who likes to go for the jugular. And I've told you many times when I've purchased houses and done things, and I've made an offer and they turn down the offer, and then they call you back a couple of weeks later and say, we'll accept the offer. And I would have to say to them, accept what offer? Well, the offer you gave us like 3 weeks ago. Oh, that expired. Huh? That was the offer then. It's not the offer forever. So now you're calling me back 3 weeks later telling me you were in a worse position than you were then. So because I now know you are in a worse position than when I set my offer, here's my new offer, and it's X minus. And by the way, if you don't take it this time, and you call me back 2 or 3 weeks later, it's going to be even less because you're proving my point. You're actually saving me money. You're making me money. The offer I gave you was too high. You turned it down. Thank you. And now you're coming back and telling me that the offer I gave you was too high because nobody else wanted it. And now I'm going to give you a lower offer because you've proven my point. You're in such a bad situation, you had to keep come crawling back. And so now my offer is now this. And by the way, once I leave here, this will expire. So when you call me back again, yeah, I guess. So that's what President Trump is. Here was my offer 20 days ago. Oh, none of it worked. You didn't take it. You bitched. You ran around the country calling me names. And now you're going to come back to the table? Now? That offer doesn't exist. Talk about having power. Being able to say no. I think some Republicans are finally learning the power of no. How that is probably the strongest negotiating ploy ever. That strategy of being able to say, no, I'm not doing it. I don't want it. But when you use that strategy, like the Democrats were using it, no, you better be able to have a backup plan if you get called on it. You see, using that real estate analogy, if I had said no, and he came back and said, I got 10 offers above what you said, I'm just giving you a chance to give me one in this neighborhood, then it would have backfired on me. Like, wow, man, this thing was hotter than I thought. I should have went in higher. So right now it can go both ways. So the power of no works on both sides, and only time tells you the power of no and who wins with the power of no. Right now, the Democrats saying no screwed themselves to the wall.
For the first time in decades, CBS News is no longer reporting from inside the Pentagon. Our reporters, alongside those from dozens of networks, newspapers, and wire services, emptied out their booths and workspaces this past week. The journalists exited rather than agree to a 21-page list of new restrictions which would prevent them from soliciting information that has not been pre-approved by the government. The Department of War, as the current administration calls it, has a $1 trillion budget and employs 3...
See, that's your problem right there. That's your problem. You don't listen. So as my parents used to say when I was a kid, if you can't listen, you know what the answer is? You must feel. I never wanted to get to that second part, otherwise now known today as you effed around and then you found out. So now you're saying the Department of War, as they call it, no, that's the name. We can't use certain names. So he turned it back around on you. I love how President Trump did that. Not one of these people are going to call an undocumented immigrant by the actual name. They used language and said, this is now what we call this. And so he's like, okay, this is going to be the Department of War, the so-called Department of War. Aren't you the ones who wanted to make sure that you call things the way you defined it? Well, President Trump threw that right back at you. So it's not the so-called Department of War. It is the Department of War. And you just proved in your little hit piece here exactly why you guys got the boot. You're not following directives. You don't call the shots. The Department of War calls the shots. And so now you're on the outside looking in.
Million military and civilian employees. CBS will continue to report from outside the building, but journalists will no longer have the day-to-day.
You will now, wait a minute. You will now report from outside the building. I want cameras. I want cameras of these people who had nice cushy offices in the Pentagon now standing outside reporting on stuff that nobody knows. See, the big problem with what the media had to do, and it was like, we will not leak anymore. Oh no, we got to leak. It's leaking is what we do. Sorry, not going to do it anymore. You don't sign it, get out. Step. And by the way, it's national security because we got to make sure you people aren't wandering the halls just talking to random people, slipping them $20 bills. Get out. So you go ahead. Report from the tree over there or something.
A face-to-face contact with the military that helps the public understand what U.S. troops are facing. Secretary Hegseth once promised the most transparent administration ever. But as one former defense official told us, the American people are going to know a lot less about what their Department of War is doing.
So shut up, bitch!
Oh my God. One source tells you X, Y, and Z, which proves his point. You just did a report that actually underscores what Pete Hegseth said. One source tells us that we're going to know a lot less than what we did before. Okay. That's precisely what he wanted. And you guys can't take it. You can't take it whatsoever. You deserve this. Finally, someone's putting you people in your place. You're merely stenographers. You do some actual reporting. Put the gumshoes, as they used to talk. Don't sit there and be very well coiffed, made up people just talking off of a teleprompter. You want to do something? Get out there and report. They can't do it anymore. You see, AI has taken that away from them. X has taken that away from them. You realize by the time a show comes out, okay, and what she just did, she used her Sunday morning show to report that. That was news 5 days ago. You are proving you are no longer needed. You're reporting stale milk. Sorry, it is what it is.
Sure would, Sean, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so. Look, Hakeem Jeffries is simply lashing out because he knows that I am telling the truth about the modern day Democrat Party. What I said, and it is a fact, is that the Democrat Party caters more to pro-Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. And let me walk Hakeem through the facts.
You know, these racist Democrats can't take this. She got blue eyes, I think, blue-eyed, blonde-haired woman who's only 28 years old going, slap, slap, slap. Let me show you something she put out recently. I think Ashley sent this to me. This is so funny. Yeah, let's do this. So this is, she put this out. For context, okay, so this guy from the Huffington Post wrote this to her. Is the president aware of the significance of Budapest? In 1994, Russia promised in Budapest not to invade Ukraine if it gave up the nuclear weapons it inherited when the Soviet Union dissolved. Does he not see why Ukraine might object to that site? Who suggested Budapest? She responded, your mom did. Oh, is this funny to you? It's funny to me that you actually consider yourself a journalist. You are far left hack who nobody takes seriously, including your other colleagues in the media. They just don't tell you that to your face. Stop texting me, you disingenuous, biased, bullcrap questions. Oh gosh, Caroline, why you got to do them like that? I mean, oh my, can you imagine being schooled by the 28-year-old press secretary and just not giving one, not even caring? Don't text me anymore, you hack. And so she had to explain it. For context, S.V. Date of the Huffington Post is not a journalist interested in the facts. He is a left-wing hack who has consistently attacked President Trump for years and constantly bombards my phone with Democrat talking points. Just take a look at S.V. Date's feed. It reads like an anti-Trump personal diary. Here's my full response to his inquiry. Activists who masquerade as real reporters do a disservice to the profession. She's not taking any crap from these people. Nothing. None. No, it ain't happening. And what the journalists are seeing right now is happening all across the administration. It's happening with Pam Bondi. It's happening with Kash Patel. It's happening with Caroline Leavitt. It's happening with Pete Hegseth. It's obviously happening with President Trump. I don't care about you people. You're scum. And you're going to be treated as scum. Now pack your shit and get out the Pentagon.
Of that statement. When it comes to pro-Hamas terrorists, it was Hakim's House Democrat caucus that voted against a resolution condemning the October 7th attack on Israel. It was Hakeem Jeffries' Democrat caucus that supported and encouraged the pro-Hamas protests that ravaged college campuses and engaged in illegal harassment of Jewish students across the United States of America under Joe Biden's administration. When it comes to illegal aliens, the American people know the truth about that. The Democrats allowed them to flood our country. Why? Because they view that constituency as their future voters. And
that's it. Everybody knows the secret, the big secret. They need these people as to be future voters. They cannot win a single election as these people are being deported. They cannot win with verified voter ID. They can't win if these people are deported. They're completely done. It's like Washington's unspoken secret finally has been exposed. President Trump's exposing it, and they don't know what to do. They're watching registrations plummet. They're watching, especially down here. I mean, I think it was like close, but now it's like 4 million difference in terms of Republican versus Democrat. They have nothing. Of course they're going to resort to violence because it's freaking them out. What do? We're watching our party just go down in smoke. Everything that they've worked for decades is basically abruptly ending, and they can't take it, and nobody else cares if you take it. We're not trying to coddle you. That tells me everything about the Insurrection Act. That tells me everything about what's about to happen, because Trump and his team don't care what you guys think.
When it comes to violent criminals, look at what the Democrats support in terms of crime. Soft on crime policies like cashless bail, like letting violent criminals out back into the streets so they can recommit violent offenses against law-abiding American citizens. The Democrat Party puts Americans last. That's why they overwhelmingly lost the election to President Trump and the Republican Party, and that's why they're holding this country hostage right now from law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens who want the government to be open. So Hakeem Jeffries should stop calling me names. He should stop trying to fight my boss, President Trump, and he should go back to doing what he was elected to do, the business of the American people in Congress, and encourage Senate Democrats to open the government. And I see Hakeem Jeffries saying House Republicans are out. They're not even here. Yeah, because they did their jobs and they passed a clean continuing resolution at the behest of President Trump to keep the government open. And now Senate Democrats and Chuck Schumer are blocking that to fight Donald Trump. And it's despicable.
She ain't wrong. She ain't wrong at all. See, a lot of people, when they talk about that the Republicans are doing it, they're not here. They're not here because they don't have to be here. They did their job. They made sure that the bill was already passed in the House. That's why I don't understand when what's her name, AOC was in that town hall. I'm like, what are you talking about? Your job's already done. It's in the Senate. If the media was even this much honest, they would report it. Now it's so bad they can't even report what's going on. Watch how little, and I do mean, you can begin looking, watch how little they're talking about the shutdown at this point. It has become a losing piece of content. People know, and they know people are going about their lives because they're going about their own lives. Nobody cares other than the smallest demographic that this government is shut down. And so how do you convince Americans, and you saw the crowd at these rallies. They were all old. Nothing wrong with being old, but they were all old. They're old hippies. There wasn't no black people. Wasn't any Hispanic people. Wasn't any Asians. It was old white people. You've lost it. You've already lost. Everybody can see it, including the media. So it is what it is. I mean, I feel bad seeing how bad they're being spanked. That's the one thing it's that bad. Whew. All right, give me a second here and let me talk to you about Kimchi. Did you know that the U.S. life expectancy peaked at 78 years old in 2014? That's 11 years ago. And global life expectancy has been declining for the first time in 30 years because people are aging faster than before. This is due to more toxins in the air, chemicals in our soil and food, and other external factors that are new to us. What most people don't know is that we can actually fight aging on a cellular level. Scientists recently discovered that kimchi actually slows down the aging process of human cells. The power of nature can outweigh the power of pharmaceuticals without any of those nasty side effects. Now you can get those same sample benefits in a simple capsule with Kimchi 1. Each capsule delivers over 900 probiotic strains plus antioxidants and enzymes to support your digestion, metabolism, and even your skin health from the inside out. Let me just move this here. As we age, we become more susceptible to microbial threats. Kimchi 1 is a natural antimicrobial, helping your body fight off harmful bacteria, viruses, and even toxins while boosting immunity and energy. And I can tell you, it actually does that. I mean, some of the things I'm taking, I noticed the difference right away. Best of all, Kimchi 1 is 100% made in the USA. It is all natural and non-GMO. Support your gut, protect your cells, and feel younger every day with Kimchi 1 from Brightcore. You can pick it up right there. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link in the description and use the code Barry for 25% off your entire order. That link would be mybrightcore.com/Barry. Or for an even better deal, you can call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off and let them do some educating with you on the phone. Get 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-418-6738.
Front. On the other side, Democrats can't even agree amongst themselves. You got different subgroups among them. You've got a few reasonable Democrats who know shutdowns hurt the people, and they've already voted for our bill. They want to keep the government open. Then you've got others desperate to prop up the failures of Obamacare with no reforms whatsoever to make the program more affordable. That's what we're fighting for. And you've got AOC calling for her own negotiations on live TV, and you've got Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries still unable to articulate what it is they need to reopen the government. It illustrates the point once again. This was never about a solution. It was about creating an issue. Now that Democrats have had their protest and publicity stunts, I just pray that they come to their senses and end this shutdown and reopen the government this week. Republicans are waiting, the American people are waiting, and we are ready to act. As evidence of just how united Republicans are in this fight, I've asked two of our prominent leaders in the House Republican Conference. I've got House Freedom Caucus.
So I cut that. I'm going to show you the entire press conference he did this morning prior to President Trump meeting with the Australian Prime Minister. That'll be coming up in a second. I wanted to get that one snippet for you because it seems now that everybody feels like the white flag is going to get waved. It may not be today, might not be tomorrow, but the white flag is imminent. Whatever strategy they had moving forward, they have realized at this point it did not work. It failed miserably. Nobody cares. It did not ignite the fires they were hoping for. I watched Eric Swalwell, I watched Chris Murphy, I watched Bernie, and I watched all these speeches, and I'm like, you're saying the same thing over and over to the same people who have already heard it, and you're not getting any more people to believe your crap. I didn't even bother showing you the cuts of them because it doesn't matter at this point. They're irrelevant. And once you get to the point of irrelevancy, it's very hard for you to be competent and competitive. The Democrat Party at this point, the only thing they have is angst. How angry can they make people? How upset can they make people? And the problem is, we're in the fall, and I told you guys a month ago, 2 months ago, once we got into college football and the NFL, these people were toast. And now, next week or so, you have basketball starting. You got hockey beginning. So right now, it's the culmination of the busiest time in the sports world. Baseball is ending, but it's still playing. Basketball is starting up. Hockey has started up. The NFL is in midseason, and the college football season is in midseason. And that's a ton of eyeballs looking someplace else other than Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. It's almost every night of the week now, there is alternative programming for somebody to look at. Yeah, you play football on Sunday. You play football on Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday, you're going to have the baseball playoffs or hockey. Wednesday or Thursday, you're going to have basketball and college football. And then Friday and Saturday, you're going to have college football. And then you're right back to Sunday. The relief valve that people have wanted for so long is now here. Kids are back at school. No, they're not paying attention. Parents are making sure the kid, actually, she's like runs her own limo service between running the kids around to practice and lunches and carpooling. It's like, I ain't got time for all that crap. So you're living your lives. And the best part of you living your lives isn't Folger, but the best part of living your lives at this point is you're realizing, wow, it's not that bad. In fact, not only not bad, life is good. Life is really good. Gas is plummeting, they had to admit. Eggs, do you even hear them talking about eggs anymore? You even hear them mention egg prices? Nope, because egg prices are cheaper in Canada. We're cheaper than Canada. Eggs right now are for like $1.50 for a dozen eggs. So they can't complain about that anymore. What else can they complain about? Well, millionaires and billionaires. So, at this point, all of those things that they were hoping for, none of it has happened. And so they've got the smallest denominator is that we need to fight for Medicare for people who can't afford it, and most of them being not from this country, which this many people care about. The whole authoritarian message, it's gone. Nobody cares. The fascist, yeah, you used it. I feel like we are at the end of a divorce. When you're at the end of a divorce, those of you who have been divorced, by the time the lawyer is involved and they've gone through the bank accounts and they found the money under the mattress and they did this, by the time can we just sign the damn papers? It's over. It was over before. Now it's like really over. Now I just don't care. I gotta go. You gotta go. Can we just tell the lawyer to sign this damn paper? That's where we are with the Democrats. It was all fighting and arguing and debating, and now we're like, You don't matter to me anymore. I'm living my life. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do that. It's perfect weather. It's the fall. It's that period of time before it gets really bad in the cold places and it has become really good in the hot places like down here where everybody's out. So I hope you are living your life and let these people meander in their misery. And even people in the chat like yesterday when we were talking about prosperity, if you don't want to be prosperous, fan-effing-tastic. But leave everybody else alone. We don't want to be miserable. We don't want to be miserable like you. And I don't feel bad at all saying that. I am a very, very happy person. And we are doing so much. I love doing these shows. We're closing, oh, actually closed down a house. The guy's moving out this weekend. We're going to go down and change the locks. We're going to list it. We're going to get it cleaned up. And then hopefully we're going to get a great offer and make a ton of money. And I'm not ashamed of it. I work hard. You work hard. So you also, you know what you get to do? You get to play hard. And everything that we live our lives for, they don't like. They don't like the fact that you might be prosperous. They don't like the fact that you might be happy. They don't like the fact that Thanksgiving is coming. Halloween will be here in 10 days. The sun's shining over here. That's why I look so light. This is usually my nighttime set. I'm looking, look, Barry, are you a ghost? No, it's just very sunny right now. But in any event, it's the most beautiful time of the year. And enjoy it. Enjoy your life right now. Don't let these nuts take it from you. Sorry for the little rant there, but I'm so happy right now. Everything is going so well for us. And everybody I talk to, JJ, life is good. My Dolphins suck, but we can suck and watch them suck, but have fun watching them suck. So let's continue.
Did you guys see this interview with this woman in DC who was describing what it's been like in DC over the last 40 years and see the changes?
Yeah, she feels safe.
Elon retweeted it. Nick, I sent you the link on Signal. Just listen to what she says. It's really, to your point, Sachs, it's like, it's just such a no-brainer thing to do. The question now is, I think, is a political calculation. Who wants to take credit for it? Because everybody should be doing this.
Oh, yes, listen to this.
I'm always got to be the person to say it, and I don't want to be the person to say it. But Donald Trump has been president for 9 months. 9 months! And I'm seeing videos from Chicago, DC, where people are like, yo, I feel safe. My kids feel safe. This is the best thing he ever did for us.
It's the best thing he's ever done for you, and it's also the worst thing that's ever happened to the Democrats. The fact that people feel safe, the fact that people are having fun, the fact that people are living their lives, getting out of these cities, being able to venture out of their homes and not dodge drive-bys, worst thing ever for the Democrats. And by the way, wait, Jeffrey Mead here, I don't know if he's like Elon Musk's illegitimate son or something, but he always gets pushed by Elon. Elon, I want some love, bro.
So what was happening all these years that this like literally I've known DC and Virginia to have this type of going my whole life, and I'm in my 40s.
Stop there. I've known. See, this is where it becomes hard and why you need to detach. You've never been in this kind of neighborhood. This woman just said, this has been my entire life. I've been dodging bullets and bad guys my entire life. Looking over my shoulder, I hear bang. What the heck was that? Can you imagine living like that? Your entire life? Not like a weekend or you turn down a wrong street or something. Living and ducking your entire life. Most of you will never, ever, ever experience that. And I hope you never do. And now there are people in the hood going, wait a second, is this how y'all live? You just walk down the street anytime you want and go to the store? You're able just to go to the park and play around? That's how you guys live? And it's all because of Trump?
Okay? Almost touching it. So what was really truly going on? If a motherfucker became president 9 months ago and cleared that out with just a flick of the pen, I'm just thinking, like, did y'all really ever care?
Exactly. So
I've told you guys many, many times, and I have to use some myself, the word contrast. Contrast. You're telling me in 9 months he's done that. No, honey, it's not been 9 months. It's been about 1 month. He didn't get to go to your area as soon as he got inaugurated. He had the idea, he had the plan, and now the sun goes down a little bit. But it hasn't been going on the entire time. He's only put his focus on Washington and Chicago and some of these areas in a very short period of time. And she's like, why all of a sudden is this happening? So when you're talking, if you talk to people who are Democrats, and how do you explain it? How do you explain that the life that you live, you don't expect other people to live that same way? You don't duck when you go out the house wondering, uh-oh, oh, there's a couple of black guys over there. Uh-oh. No, you don't live that way. Why is it okay that these other people had to live this way? Why is it okay that they had to wonder if a bullet was going to come through their window at night where their kids sleep? Make the beds down below the windows and tell the kids, if you wake up, roll over on the floor. Don't turn the light on. If you listen or even heard how some of these parents have to tell their kids to react in their own home, it's frightening. And that you get people like Pritzker and Brandon Johnson and Newsom and other mayors and governors like, everything's fine. Well, what about these people? Why are these people like, really? This is how y'all used to live? We never known anything like it. How about some empathy? How about some real empathy where you're sitting now and hearing this, and for the first time you may be listening to someone and going, they really have to live that way? Yeah. Can't go out at night. Can't even take the garbage out. Got to watch everything all the time. You hear a noise. What's that noise? Somebody getting ready to crawl in the window? Pop, pop, pop. They're shooting outside. Oh my gosh, there's helicopters. Something must have happened. Sounds foreign to you. And in a little over a month, their entire lives were changed. When was America great again? When I didn't have to dodge bullets in my own home. That's when America was great. When I didn't have to worry about going to the park and getting jumped. That's when America was great. They don't want that. So you're anti-making America great again means you want these people to still be hiding in their houses.
I think that the point she's making there is we don't have to live this way. This is a choice, okay?
Yeah.
And we don't have to live in San Francisco with our main drag, our main street, Market Street, basically being an open air drug market where you've got hundreds of people who are addicted, doing drugs in the street, doing other things in the street. And again, Gavin Newsom proved that it could all be cleaned up very, very quickly. So look, I think it's great that Daniel Lurie and Brooke Jenkins and the new administration are doing a better job, but they're still constrained and hamstrung by their own,
well, let them say that,
by the city's, by the city's liberal mindset, extreme liberal mindset towards what's possible. And I think, like that person just said in the video, Trump just did it with a stroke of a pen. This is a choice. We don't have to live this way.
And see, that's news to many, and I don't mean this in any sort of bad way, but it's news to many white people that they don't realize what life is like in the hood, and they don't realize, many of you may not realize, that everybody in the hood isn't okay with that. The small segment of people who are doing the drugs and clocking and walking the street at night and robbing and shooting are holding the rest of the city hostage. And that's all they've known their entire lives. And I just ask you to just think to yourself, you may have some coworkers. You may know some friends. You might see a woman in the hair salon. And you might just ask them, what's it like in your neighborhood? You want a conversation starter? with somebody that you may not have ever talked to. Hey, listen, I see this stuff on the news. And I don't mean any disrespect, but is it really like that where you live? And then let them talk. Because most people don't take the time to find out how things are. Really? Really? Is it really that bad? As a guy, oh, no, it's not that bad now. Things are changing. Then why are you still voting Democrat? Peer pressure is, you know, as they say about peer pressure. But when you hear that woman, so the next thing would be, it's getting better? Yeah. How's he getting better? Trump. Stroke of a pen? Trump. Who are you voting for? See, that's the bridge we now have to change. That's the bridge of, you want to talk about handcuffs? Handcuffs in the hood? Even though your best interest is people have stopped shooting, they have stopped robbing, they stopped doing drugs. Even though all that is stopped, who are you voting for? Democrat? And then you have to ask them, why? Why? That's where you can make a big difference with people, because they're seeing it, they're feeling it, they're living it, and their lifelong habit of ducking bullets is the same lifelong habit that they have of voting Democrat. They just don't know they're not supposed to, that they even have the option. Their churches, their schools, everybody tells them Trump sucks, Trump sucks, Trump sucks. Hey, how's life? Well, life's much better. So I guess he doesn't suck. What did they do for you? What did Brandon Johnson do for you? What did Muriel Bowser do for you? What is J.B. Pritzker doing for you? Nothing. So why are you still voting for him? That's the hurdle we have as MAGA, is to let these people know, unchain. You know, when Joe Biden said, hey, I'll put y'all back in chains. Well, you know who's going to put you back in chains is because they don't want to release the ones they already have on you. Imagine if they just unshackle all these people in the hood. What would happen? I mean, it would be absolutely freeing. I mean, it would be unbelievably freeing. And that's where we need to get to, and that's where a lot of you can use your direction, is to reach out to people, maybe not on X because you don't know who you're talking about, but in your own circle. You know, every year when I was playing football in high school, we would get together because we went to a prep school. Not ashamed. I'm not going to be ashamed about saying my background anymore. And then the football team would take and we would give away turkeys in the bad part of town. That same bad part where my father would have to walk as a National Guard when there was a riot. But we would go and we'd give away free turkeys. And I remember asking, why don't they buy their own damn turkeys? She didn't slap me, but you know, they actually like, what did you just say? Like, why don't they buy their own turkeys? Why we got to go give away turkeys? Nobody's giving us turkeys. And you know, being a big knucklehead kid, I didn't understand. What do you mean they can't just go buy their own turkeys? Why not? Well, you know, son, they can't afford to buy the turkey. What? Don't they work? See, we're talking generational at this point. It'll happen this year. Trust me, there'll be people going into the hood and giving away free turkeys. Never understanding, maybe you should tell them how they could be able to afford to buy their own damn turkey. I always wondered why that was the way it was. Why don't I just show them how they can go get a job and buy their own damn turkey? Why we got to go deliver these turkeys? It's cold out here. I didn't know any different. I just thought it was something you do. Oh, it's November. We got to go give away food. Oh, we got to do a food drive at church. Why are we doing a food drive? Oh, because there's people in the hood who can't eat. Every year? Every year, these same people need us to bring them food? What do they do the other 10 months of the year? And I never got an answer. I never understood until I got older that it was the government that feeds these people, and it's just perpetual. And every year you bring the same turkeys, and every year your church does a food drive, canned goods only, And you bring the canned goods into church, you put them in the big box, and then the worship team or somebody brings the canned goods to somebody in the hood, and they make these little boxes for them. Every single year. I went to Catholic grammar school, I went to Catholic high school, and every single year. Give away turkeys, give away food. And then when I got older, then we got a new box, and then you got to bring toys. Wait a second. I'm going to bring them turkeys, I'm going to bring them canned goods, and then I got to bring their little knuckleheads who we're going to be feeding for the next 20 years toys. So you're perpetuating the cycle. Here's your food. Here's your Christmas food. Oh, here's your Christmas toys so that these little knuckleheads can then be recipients of the turkeys. Barry, that sounds cold. No, it's not. I'm like, why aren't we just showing these people how to make more money? Dad, why don't you hire some of these people so they can actually have jobs? And then we don't have to bring them turkeys and then canned goods and then Christmas presents. Every single year. You think I'm lying? You think right now you're thinking, yeah, every year the church puts the big box right outside the front, huh? And every year now they're saying, can you bring in an unwrapped toy? Yeah. And nobody thinks about it. They just, oh, look, honey, somebody brought in 12, what are these things? Star Wars lasers. The kids are going to love it. What? 2 years ago, I was doing some e-commerce, and I was selling Star Wars lasers, and I brought in like 20 boxes of them. And it struck me right there. So I had that conversation with myself: is they're going to bring this stuff into the hood. Instead, why don't we just bring them here and show them how to do certain things? Can I show somebody how to open an e-commerce store? You don't need really a whole lot of training. Don't need a whole lot of money. There's this thing called drop shipping. I'll go into drop shipping at a different time. But you can open a store online, and all of a sudden, all you got to do is sell. Make your own money. I never understood it. To this day, I don't understand how that perpetuality of people having to be given things like stray cats, and we all participate in it every single year. And we all think we're doing good. We feel good giving. Oh, here's your turkey. Here's some canned goods. Here's some toys. It makes you feel good. Until you actually, right now, you're probably going to think for yourself is, I've been giving away turkeys, canned goods, and toys for 10, 20 years, and it doesn't change a damn thing. One of the reasons why I like what Trump is doing is that cycle can change. And if you've never thought about that, I want you to begin thinking about that. I'm sure you've done it. I'm sure, I haven't looked in the chat, I'm sure every single one of you are like, yeah, I've been giving away I've been giving away stuff forever. What has it changed? Nothing. You'll go right back to that hood this week. Your church over the next 2 months will go right back to those same places. Nothing changes. And now President Trump is showing them life can be different. And the Democrats are freaking. You're going to save a lot of turkeys, probably. Probably change a whole lot of turkeys. Let me talk to you guys about chapter. As you know, here in the Fanfare family, it's Medicare annual enrollment. And as a newly minted 65-year-old myself, that means I'm getting buried under the same spam calls and junk mail that you are. And it's a nightmare. I have also learned that Medicare plans change every single year. Apparently some even disappear. So for those of us that love our plans today, it might not be the best one for us in 2026. And if you don't double check, you could lose coverage for the doctors or prescriptions that you count on today. And to make matters worse, most Medicare agents are scammers. They just try to push you into the plan that pays them the biggest commission. That's why I highly recommend, not just recommend, I highly recommend Chapter for the Fanfare family. They check every single plan in America to make sure you get the best deal. On average, they save people $1,100 a year. And if you are in a position where you don't need to save, but you'd like a Cadillac-style plan, they can help you find that as well. They made it dead simple. They'll review all your options in under 20 minutes on one free phone call. If you're already on the right plan, you're done. If not, they'll help you switch. So get some peace of mind during this enrollment period. Call Chapter at 475-328-3545, or you can go to askchapter.org/Barry and make sure you're set moving into 2026. All right, so let's go ahead and take some comments. What are we talking about? Dems gave the newcomers driver's license so they can vote. Yeah, they did. Naomi says fresh produce, dry beans. They don't know how to cook. I usually home can it. So for it took me. That's so sad. That is so sad. Oh man, that's funny. Now they've added the coat drive, so they warm up when they go get the free turkeys. So your church has a coat drive. like, hey, Robin, we got anything we want to throw away? I mean, it's crazy. Oh man, let's see what's this here. Barry, off theme. I went to see the rock orchestra last night in Orlando. It was incredible. Maybe you can look into it. A rock orchestra. I'd like to see that, actually. Let's see here. What else we got? Thank you. The government owes me. Yeah. What would happen if the turkeys didn't arrive? I don't know. They count on them. What happens if the food bank or whatever church didn't bring the turkeys? They're still going to eat. I'm going to tell you that much. All right, let me continue. I don't want to keep you guys here all day. Let's move into the next section. Here we go.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you.
All right, so by the way, next section here. This is about 20 minutes. This is Mike Johnson, the full press conference from earlier this morning at 10 o'clock. So if you haven't seen it, I'm going to play the entire press conference. But if you have seen it, just you guys can talk amongst yourselves.
For being here this morning. For those of you that are keeping track, this will be day 20 days since the Democrats recklessly shut down the United States government. And the Democrats are making some very costly history here. Don't lose that in all that's happening. This is now the third longest shutdown in history. And when you look at it carefully, it is now already the longest full shutdown of all time. You had an example in 2018 and you had one back in 1995 that were longer, but they were partial shutdowns because they only affected a part of the federal government. This is everything. And it's also important for us to note, this is the first time in history that any party has had the audacity to shut down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution. This is a political stunt, and it's the first time it's been done, and it is the most costly, most selfish, most dangerous political stunt in the history of the United States Congress, because as we have stood here day after day after day explaining all the Americans who are being harmed by this nonsense. And the Senate Democrats have zero shame about this. They don't have any shame at all about the pain that they're inflicting upon hardworking families, upon soldiers and law enforcement officers and veterans and the elderly and the disabled and women, infants, and children. Services to all those categories and paychecks to those folks are being stalled because Democrats are playing games. Today, Leader Thune in the Senate will once again bring the clean, nonpartisan CR to the floor for a vote. They will have another chance. Democrats will have their 12th opportunity to pass the bill. It is the same bill that they themselves supported just 7 months ago, and Chuck Schumer gave impassioned speeches on the floor about how it was the only option. And don't forget, they did it 13 times under the Biden administration. Very similar measures, but not now. Something's changed. Over the weekend, we saw what it was all about. The Democrats made crystal clear that this is about politics. The politics were on full display. The politics, the spectacle, is what the mobs, the crowds, the rallies this week were all about. It was quite ironic, though. The irony was very glaring. They called it the No Kings rally. But the great irony, of course, that we pointed out over and over was if President Trump was a king, the government would be open. If President Trump was a king, he would have closed the national parks and the National Mall, so they couldn't have had the rally out here. By the way, that's what President Obama did during the shutdown in 2013, closed all the parks and the National Mall. here in Washington, you had Senators Bernie Sanders and Chris Murphy and Cory Booker and others marching in the streets. Now, these are the same senators who voted over and over to shut down the legislative branch and hand the reins to President Trump. They're decrying the situation that they themselves created. This has always been about the spectacle. Chuck Schumer himself joined the spectacle in New York City. And it's interesting to note his activities there. He was standing side by side some of the most radical groups that maybe ever assembled on U.S. soil. They openly advertised as co-sponsors of the event in New York City the Communist Party USA, the Democrat Socialist of America, the Freedom Socialist Party, the Young Communist League of New York, many others. Do we need any further evidence? They're not hiding this. They're out in the open. They're not shy about it, because this is the core constituency of the modern Democratic Party. These are objective facts. Look at what's happening. Open your eyes. It is exactly why Chuck Schumer is pandering in this whole charade. We've explained from the very beginning, this shutdown is about one thing and one thing alone: Chuck Schumer's political survival. Now, I noted on Friday, the lead organizer of the rallies this weekend issued an open threat to Democrats. Quote, "The cavalry is coming in on October 18th, and they're either going to be celebrating with you, or they're going to be calling for new leadership." Now, that's a direct threat to Chuck Schumer, and he heard the message. And so did Hakeem Jeffries in the House. And that's why neither of them were here doing their jobs. Instead, they were out in New York and California. They were catering to the same radical base that is just days away from electing an open Marxist as mayor of New York City. And now that Chuck Schumer has had his spectacle, he's had his big protest against America, this is our plea. We're asking, and I think everybody in this room and everybody watching, listening to our voices this morning should be hoping that he is finally now ready to go to work and end this shutdown and stop inflicting pain on the American people. Republicans have been working. We are ready. We've been doing this. It's been over a month now. We passed our responsible short-term solution to keep the government open while we just simply finish our work to fund the government openly and transparently, and Republicans are completely united on that front. On the other side, Democrats can't even agree amongst themselves. You got different subgroups among them. You've got a few reasonable Democrats who know shutdowns hurt the people, and they've already voted for our bill. They want to keep the government open. Then you've got others desperate to prop up the failures of Obamacare with no reforms whatsoever to make the program more affordable. That's what we're fighting for. And you've got AOC calling for her own negotiations on live TV, and you've got Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries still unable to articulate what it is they need to reopen the government. It illustrates the point once again. This was never about a solution. It was about creating an issue. Now that Democrats have had their protest and publicity stunts, I just pray that they come to their senses and end this shutdown and reopen the government this week. Republicans are waiting. The American people are waiting, and we are ready to act. As evidence of just how united Republicans are in this fight, I've asked two of our prominent leaders in the House Republican Conference. I've got House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Harris. Dr. Harris is also an appropriator. And House Freedom Caucus Policy Chair Chip Roy of Texas. I'll turn it over to Dr. Harris first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Earlier this month, the House Freedom Caucus made history by hosting our first press call held with the Speaker. And today we're doing it again, standing shoulder to shoulder at a full leadership press conference as part of the united Republican front against this Democrat-led shutdown. On the Sunday morning shows yesterday, the Democrats tried once again, unconvincingly, to say that they are not to be blamed for the shutdown. But the reason that the government remains shut down is becoming crystal clear to Americans. It's because centered Democrats have chosen to pander to their radical base instead of doing their job for the American people. Senate Democrats have had the opportunity to vote 11 times for the House-passed bill that pays our troops, pays our law enforcement, and pays our air traffic controllers now, and would immediately reopen the government. Instead, they've sided with the same radical activists who filled the streets this weekend chanting "No Kings" at rallies backed by the Communist Party USA and socialists, the same people who claim to hate power while demanding more control over your life. The question before us now is simple. Will at least 5 Senate Democrats relent and break from their party's left-wing fringe and vote to reopen the government today? Let's also be honest about what the Democrats are really fighting for. They're demanding taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants. They want to eliminate work requirements for welfare for able-bodied adults who could work but choose not to. And they're defending hundreds of billions of dollars in continued corporate welfare for big, profitable health insurance companies that have already made a fortune off Obamacare with the Biden bonuses that the Democrats scheduled to expire at the end of this year. House Republicans have already done their job. The only thing standing between America and a reopened government is a handful of Senate Democrats too afraid of their activist base to do the right thing. But it's time for those 5 Senate Democrats to show some courage, stand against their leadership, but with hard-working Americans, and vote to reopen the government. I want to close by thanking Speaker Johnson for his leadership in standing firm against the radical left's unreasonable demands and for standing with the American people. Thank you, and I'll now turn this over to Congressman Chip Roy.
Thanks, Andy, and I want to thank the Speaker and the leadership team and the President for their leadership during these last several weeks. I'd say it's good to see you, but I mean, honestly, I'd rather be in Texas. But I'm happy to be here today with these guys. No one disputes one obvious fact. It is Democrats who have chosen not to fund government. Can we at least establish that truth, right? It is, in fact, the truth. And the question is why? And you saw it on Saturday. It was basically for a political rally for cover for Chuck Schumer, who's in his own political battle in New York. That's the truth. And the irony of this is this No Kings rally. What are we actually talking about? I mean, it wasn't President Trump, but Democrats who tried to make us take a shot or lose our job. It wasn't President Trump, but Democrats who were burning our cities to the ground in 2020 and attacking police officers. It wasn't President Trump, but it was Democrats who want to push boys into girls' locker rooms, who want to force surgeries upon children. It wasn't President Trump, but Democrats who pushed fraudulent mail-in ballots in 2020 and left the elections in question. And then when Americans dared to question that stuff, they sought to jail the American people. They weaponized the government against the American people. And now they want to turn around and say they're going to have a No Kings rally? This is the dying breath of a bankrupt party, in my humble opinion. All too happy to shut down the government and then have a Chicago teacher walk around with this symbol against her neck. Somebody tell me how that's appropriate. Where are the Democrats that are crying out about how horrific that was? And by the way, where are the Democrats who are calling out the Attorney General in Virginia for calling on the death of children of a political opponent? Where is Abigail Spanberger, one of our former colleagues running for governor of Virginia? Do they not have the courage to call out fellow Democrats for that absurdity? The truth is we have a president. We don't have a king. We have a president who loves our country, who rightly said yesterday that he's working his ass off to make this country great. He is correct. Brokering peace deals in the Middle East, rebuilding our military, rooting out DEI and critical race theory, declaring cartels as terrorist organizations, focusing on Antifa, defunding the World Health Organization, getting us out of UNRWA, making sure that we target the Southern Poverty Law Center, who are, going after people like our friends at the Family Research Council or ultimately Charlie Kirk, securing the border, passing the Lake and Riley Act. These are the things the American people want us to do, not shutting down the government for political rallies. And the truth is, the Marxists, the radicals, and the Islamists, the Democratic Party promoted this weekend. They cannot handle the truth. The truth is that there is a king, and that king is Jesus. And the president has been willing to say it. His administration has been willing to say it. And Charlie Kirk was willing to say it, and he got killed for it. Democrats are using this ridiculous political exercise to hold hostage the government of the American people, pretending it's about health care. Meanwhile, it is Democrats who have been holding the American people hostage to an unconscionably broken health care system that they themselves created. We're saying no more. We're the party that's standing up for hardworking Americans who can't afford health care, who can't afford insurance. We're not for giving more money to the insurance companies. We're not for a $400 billion blank check to big corporate America and corporate welfare, like my friend from Maryland said. We're not for health care for illegal aliens, but for standing up for American citizens to be able to afford health care, to carry forward the president's good policies like short-term limited duration plans and other ways that people can actually go and afford health care. We're for law and order. We're not for hate-filled lawlessness. We're for common sense, not radical surgeries on our children without parental consent to say a boy can be a girl. We're for a message of hope, hope born in the freedom of those who fought to give it to us through their blood and also through the blood of our Savior Jesus Christ. Republicans.
You know, I know some people have a problem or an issue with Chip Roy, but as he was making this statement and I saw this, and I went, that's it. I actually said that to you guys a week or so ago when I had my idea as to what was really the problem, and he's mentioned it. The no king. Yes, we do have a king. It's not Donald Trump. Us Christians believe in the one true king. They don't want anything to do with that. Notice as they were mentioning who the sponsors were, the Communists of America, the Socialists of America. That tells you why they don't like no kings. I am convinced 100% of it right now. It is the Christianity that's prevalent right now that is driving these people and making them turn into vampires. They can't take the light. And Chip Roy, despite the problems I've had with him, is dead on right here.
Are working to make America great again. Democrats have been trying to run out the clock. And for Hakeem and Chuck, their time is up. I'll turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Chip. Well, you can see Republicans are united strongly in working to open the government back up. We all voted to prevent a government shutdown, and that bill went through the House weeks ago on almost exclusively a party line vote. And since then, for weeks and weeks, that bill has been in the Senate where Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, consistently have voted to shut the government down. And we've said all this is about is Chuck Schumer trying to appease his most radical base, the most far left elements of the Democrat Party, the people who have taken over the Democrat Party. Frankly, they've held Chuck Schumer hostage, and so now Chuck Schumer is holding the American people hostage. And this weekend, we got to see on display what that Hate America rally we've been talking about was really all about. And you could see some of the signs. These are just a few. But over and over again, you could see signs like 8647. I think everybody knows what that's about. Multiple signs like that advocating for the death of our president. And where are the Chuck Schumers of the world calling that out? They didn't call it out. They actually went and celebrated with those people that are advocating for the murder of President Trump and other Republicans. It's insanity. Yet that's where the Democrat Party in Washington has gone. Most Democrats around the country don't buy into that far left radical socialist base that Chuck Schumer's catering to. And that's why so many are walking away from that party. But in the meantime, that's who is controlling the Democrat Party here in the United States Senate and in Congress. And that's why we continue to be at this stalemate, not because there's some ability for us to come together and find a common ground. We've been trying. We had a provision in the working families tax cut that would have lowered premiums for families, healthcare premiums, by 11%. It was scored by the Congressional Budget Office to do that. 11% reduction in premiums for families. And you might ask, well, why is that not law of the land? Because it passed the House. Well, when it got over to the Senate, it was Senate Democrats who went to the parliamentarian and fought to get that provision removed because they don't care about lowering premiums for families. They really don't, and they showed it over and over again. What do they care about? They care about catering to the most radical elements of their base. You could see the sponsors, and it's been mentioned before, the Communist Party of America, the Socialist Party. Well, that's who's taken over the Democrat Party. That's not who America is. America is not a socialist nation. It's surely not a communist nation. But the Democrat Party here in Washington is trying to pull the country down that rat hole. We've seen it over and over again. That experiment's been tried time and time again, and you could go look at the scrap heap of history to see other countries where it's failed. Why won't they go protest over in those countries and just be a part of those countries where it's already failed? But they come here and they lie about our president. They call him a king where, ironically, they're also advocating for the death of that democratically elected president. And so You've got to see it all on full display. And hopefully that's what Chuck Schumer needed to go through to show them that he's still keeping the government shut down to appease that group. But now that rally is over. And the pain that he has inflicted on American families continues. It's time for Chuck Schumer to end the pain he's inflicting on millions of American families. And finally, vote. Just 5 Senate Democrats need to come together to vote to open this government back up again. We still have big differences, and we'll be negotiating our differences in the weeks ahead. But it's time he releases the American people from this crazy experiment. With that, bring up our whip. Tom Emmer.
As the Speaker said, we're now on day 20 of the Democrats' shutdown. For everyone tuning in, here's a quick review of everything that's happened in the last 3 weeks. Republicans did our jobs. We passed a clean, nonpartisan government funding bill that Democrats supported just 6 months ago and passed 13 times under the Biden administration. 11 times now, Democrats have refused to pass our clean CR, shutting the government down in the process and forcing Americans to pay the price. In order to simply turn the lights back on, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have demanded $1.5 trillion in new spending for things like taxpayer-funded health care for illegals and cutting $50 billion from our rural health care fund. They've taken the American people hostage while pointing fingers at us for refusing to concede to their absurd wish list of demands. But Republicans have been clear. We will not negotiate under hostage conditions, nor will we pay a ransom. The Democrats' position is totally unreasonable. It's hypocritical, and it's pure partisan politics in a desperate attempt to score points with the radical, pro-terrorist wing of their party. Now that their Hate America rally is over, I hope that at least 5 Senate Democrats will finally do the right and responsible thing by breaking ranks with Chuck Schumer, passing our clean CR, and reopening the government. If they continue to refuse, we're going to continue to hold them to account. And I hope members of the media in this room are going to do the same. With that, I turn it back to our Speaker, Mike Johnson.
Okay, a few questions. Chad, go ahead. Chad.
Thank you. We understand concerns about air traffic control. We understand that they're going to lay off workers at the National, they're going to lay off workers at the Nuclear Security Administration.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps you up at night about what parts of this federal government are not operating?
Well, those are 2 good examples. The question is, when the administration is required to triage federal spending, they have to look and evaluate what are the most essential and what are the less essential functions of the federal government. And they look at policy, personnel, and all these offices. But the things that concern me the most are TSA, for example. I mean, you're right. We are shorthanded already with air traffic controllers, with TSA agents, keeping the airports safe and our flights safe. We cannot afford this nonsense. And I think the Democrats in their heart of hearts know that. When you're talking about nuclear deterrence, our former colleague Brandon Williams was a congressman from New York, and now he's now been confirmed, and he's one of the people in charge of nuclear deterrence for the United States. He's a former officer on a nuclear submarine. He brings a lot of experience to that job, and he came to sit down with me a few days ago, end of last week, and he said, I just want to articulate for you how serious this is in terms of national defense. And we didn't get into the classified parts there. We weren't in the SCIF, but suffice it to say that every day that the government is shut down, it is a danger to the American people. We're in a nuclear arms race with adversaries right now. It can't be any more serious than this. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, you've seen what they're up to. America is the last great superpower on the planet, but we have to maintain that status. And if we get behind on funding or personnel or any of these projects that we're involved in that are at a level that we can't talk about in here, it's very serious. So you have every function of the federal government that is being adversely affected. Of course, it's troops. We got the troops paid, thankfully, the middle of this month, because the president did heroic work. They found money within DOD that they could use on a temporary basis. But that money is going to be exhausted. You can't have the troops unpaid. You can't have Border Patrol agents unpaid. They've got to defend the country. And this is not a game. And that's why you see us so frustrated up here every day. Again, I'm going to reiterate what we said earlier. This is the first time in history that we've been in this situation. There has never been a party that shut down the entire government or a party that shut down, over a clean CR for nothing but political partisan purposes. Their rally illustrated exactly what we've been saying for the last 20 days. This is about politics, and it's disgusting. Yes, sir.
Speaker Johnson, you say that the Democrats had a Hate America rally, but what does it say that the President of the United States over the weekend released a video of him pooping on the American people?
Hold on. You've got members of the press corps, grown people who still don't understand memes, who don't understand humor. These people are already communist. The fact that they can't even grasp that people can have a laugh and that humor is making a comeback is problematic in and of itself. The president posts a video of him driving a Air Force jet, and dropping poop on Harry Sisson's head, and it makes it to the press conference talking to the Speaker of the House. These people, they're never coming back. They are never coming back.
The president uses social media to make a point. You can argue he's probably the most effective person who's ever used social media for that. He is using satire to make a point. He is not calling for the murder of his political opponents, and that's what these people are doing. I mean, they're in one of these photos. I think there's a picture of the president hanging in effigy by a noose on one of these. The one on the far end. I mean, it's unconscionable. Look, America is built on the idea of free speech. You have the right to protest. Of course, we jealously guard that. I mean, Chip and I are attorneys. We've defended that right in the courts. But what they're doing right now is different. They are trying to incite violence. It's not funny. You don't mock a president who has already had 2 failed assassination attempts on his life. This is not a game. And the idea that communists would be supporting this is unconscionable to us. Look, when we give tours of the House chamber and we bring in constituents and we point out all the historical facts and images around the building, I always start with "In God We Trust," which of course is right above the rostrum of the Speaker's podium. And if you look in the visitor's guide to the House chamber, it says on page 14. When was that put there? Well, it's put there in the early 60s, 1961, as I recall. And it says in the guide that it was put there, Congress voted to put that there as a rebuke to the Cold War era Soviets. Why? Because their philosophy, that's what it says, a rebuke to their philosophy. Their philosophy was Marxism. Marxism begins with the premise that there is no God. It is antithetical to who we are as Americans. The Declaration of Independence says we're created by God and He's the one that gave us our rights. It is in God whom we trust. That is the national motto. That's what America's built on. What those people are advocating for is at its essence un-American. And when they go the next step and they call for violence on political officials in an environment that is already a heightened threat environment, it's dangerous stuff. They had the right to do it. Congratulations, they didn't burn any buildings down. That's a big achievement for the left to have some kind of gathering where they don't have a looting and riots and burn a building down. There was, I think, some in Portland, they threw bottles and bricks and stuff at the ICE facility because that's what they do for fun now out there. But they had a free speech event. Congratulations. But you need to look past that and look at what it is they're advocating for openly, and it's really scary stuff. Yes, ma'am. Second row. Yes, ma'am. I was actually pointing to her. I don't think you've asked a question before. Go ahead. Oh, my goodness. Okay, yes. So yet another Democrat politician from Arizona is trying to get national publicity. So now it's the state AG who's going to sue me because Representative Grijalva is not yet sworn in. Let me go through this again for you, and I have some updates. First of all, I'm following the Pelosi precedent. I was on some of the Sunday shows and was asked about this because this is all they have to talk about right now. When Julia Letlow was elected under very similar circumstances to fill the seat of her deceased husband, who passed away tragically by COVID, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi at the time, took 25 days to administer the oath of office to her. It wasn't just Julia. The Pelosi precedent extends even further because when Pat Ryan and Joe Sempolinsky were elected, during an August recess, they waited 21 days to administer the oath to those to rep-elects because they were not in session. We are not in legislative session. The chronology is important. Rep. Grijalva won her race in, I think it was the last week of September, after we had already gone out of session. So I will administer the oath to her, I hope on the first day we come back, legislative session. I'm willing and anxious to do that. In the meantime, instead of doing TikTok videos, she should be serving her constituents. She could be taking their calls. She can be directing them, trying to help them through the crisis that the Democrats have created by shutting down the government. Oh, and by the way, I also did find out this little tidbit that should be interesting to you. When a rep-elect comes in on a special election in particular, it is up to the leaders of her party, his or her party in the House, to give them guidance and direction. One of the first things they do is reach out to what we do, is reach out, majority leader, or reaches out to the rep-elect and says, hey, welcome, congratulations. Here's all the things you need to do. Here's the office of the chief administrative officer of the House, and they will help you get all of your computers set up and your passwords and all the rest. That call was apparently never made by Rep. Grijalva, and I don't know if the Democrat leader's office didn't inform her of that. But I found out this morning that the person who runs that office in the chief administrative office is on furlough because they voted to shut the government down. And so that person didn't reach out affirmatively, but now it's been sorted out, and I'm told they're going to her office today because she made a TikTok video saying that she couldn't use her computers. Well, she'll be able to use her computers now. Okay, she has 16 staffers. They need to be taking calls, and they need to be helping their constituents, just as Republicans are out in their districts right now, helping them navigate the chaos that is created by Democrats who are playing political games. Yes, next question. Yes, sir.
Are we not fast approaching the point where this CR doesn't buy you time for appropriations?
Well, I would defer to my appropriator buddy up here, but here's the thing. The appropriators have been doing great work. They're continuing to work. Even during the shutdown, they're working individually and on their subcommittees and among themselves and even across the aisle to get the next batch of appropriation bills ready for passage. Is the time eroding quickly? Yes. Is it dangerous for them to shut the government down right now? Yes, because we have very pressing matters that we need to handle, but we can't do it when the Senate is stalling all of that, stopping it. We passed 12 separate appropriations bills through the House committee. They've done their work. 3 of them off the House floor. 3 bills off the Senate floor. They don't match up exactly, so we're going to a conference committee on that. We have to finish that process. We have to rebuild the muscle memory for regular order because that is how we serve as good stewards of the American taxpayers. We're anxious to do that. We hope the Democrats will see the light. We hope that you will ask them the tough questions this week. Why in the heck are you doing this? What is the point? What is the purpose? And don't let them say it's about Obamacare subsidies because that was always going to be the subject of debate internally and across the aisle between the caucuses and amongst everybody in the month of October. And they are now eating up the clock for us to have the thoughtful debate about reforms and things that might be necessary if indeed that's going to be extended. So it's on them. You need to ask them the tough questions. We're here to do the work. We'll continue to do it. Thank you all.
All right, so they were talking a second ago about the video that President Trump put out. And these people are just losing their minds over it. Here's Bernie Sanders all freaked out about it. Just let's listen to this.
Look, Trump may be crazy, and he may be a liar, and he may do, you describe, I mean, hard to imagine a president, I mean, I don't know what world these guys are living in. President of the United States dropping feces on an American city.
Right.
All right, they may be all of those things, but this is what they are not. They're not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And they are good politicians. And they're going to look at it. If you think why do you think the Republicans are hiding out right now?
Yeah.
Mike Johnson, the speaker, has given them I got them in their 5th week of vacation.
Yeah.
They're not coming to work. You want to negotiate? They ain't there. All right. So I think that when people all over this country are looking at these notices and say, I can't pay a doubling of my health insurance premiums,
right.
Republicans will understand that and come to the table.
Do you know what would be powerful, though, is if...
All right, so tell me, have you gotten a notification that says that your premium has increased by doubled? I don't see it. This is bullcrap. The problem is that the Obamacare is expiring. It's blowing up in their faces, and they can't accept it. So that's just where we are. And about the memes, dude, grow up. Seriously, you people need some serious help. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do the super chats. President Trump is due to meet with LSU's baseball team at 4 o'clock. I might just go ahead and tape that, and then we can talk about that afterwards. Where's the chat? Hold on, let me try and get the chat here put together. For some reason, it seems to have disappeared. Oh, there it is. All right, where's my poll? I put up a poll, but the poll's not there anymore. Or anyway, where'd my poll go? I was going to do movie night tonight and wanted to see what you guys were going to say about it, but I guess it doesn't show. The poll didn't take, or whatever. But anyway, I'm thinking about doing movie night tonight instead of like a second show at like 4:30. So we'll work at that. So anyway, the poll went away, and hopefully the stream didn't stop. I'm still streaming. All right, so let's go ahead and do super chats, and you guys can go do what you need to do the rest of the afternoon, and I can do what I got to do the rest of the afternoon. Let me bring up the screen here. That's this screen, and he's barking. I can't do anything about it right now. Somebody's at the door. Let me get through these real quick here. Greg, loving your informative channel. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Raven Kirkendall. There was a guy who had AI self-host his podcast. That was Dave Rubin. And then Congress should not be paid during the government shutdown. Indeed. I don't know why. Oh, there's more. I don't know why my poll didn't show up, but my poll didn't show up. I had a poll sitting there. And then unhood the hood MAGA, whatever that means. I'm going to go take out and check out what's going on with this dog. I'll see you guys tonight.